Shaman, what are you doing here? I've come in the spirit of Christmas. The spirit of Christmas. Humbug. Who needs it? We're talking BraveStarr. Hit it. It was 1986. Crocodile Dundee came to America. Corazon Aquino was Time's Man of the Year. Bobby Ewing was alive and dreamed that entire previous season of Dallas. And Marshall BraveStarr brought law and order to New Texas. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me are two Totally Rad Christmas All-Stars and Ratty winners. You'll know them as the dynamic tag team duo from Just Another Friday Night. It's Double A and CM Chuck. Guys, what's happening?
What is up, Jerry D? Can you still hear us okay?
Yeah, y'all sound great.
Okay, good.
How are y'all doing? It's been a while.
We're doing good.
Yeah, man, we're doing great. Hanging in there.
We just finished our 150th episode.
150th for us, yeah. I don't know when you have... Yeah, thank you so much.
You.
Yeah. We mentioned it on our show, but of course I know you don't always doesn't always come out at the same time. So
yeah. So by the time this drops, it'll be a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks, I think. So
not bad.
Congrats on the 150. That's a big number. That's a big one.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
A great episode. It was Kang. So
yes,
talking about Ant-Man.
Talking about Ant-Man. Yeah, definitely, man. We know you're a huge fan as well. You and Double A gotta chop it up regarding the Conqueror, man.
Oh man, Kang is, I mean, from Rama Tut all the way to Immortus. Dude's just amazing. Well, then Iron Lad too, if you think about it.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. I'm learning so much about the character. I'm just like, man, I really want to get into some of his stuff some more. So yeah, really good stuff coming.
The funny thing is, and before we dive into BraveStarr, the funny thing is, I used to think Kang's costume was dumb. Like when I was little, I was like, "That, come on, why would anybody design?" And then it wasn't until the Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon that all of a sudden I was like, "Man, Kang is legit." And so I went back and read all the comics again. And I was like, I've been sleeping on this guy. He's like a real threat, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm like a new fan too. So it's like, for me, I'm like excited by him, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And that's a fun place to be in. So for me, it's been about 10 years since I've really gotten into Kang, but yeah, he's had some cool stories, and I'm excited to see where the Council of Kangs and this Kang dynasty is going to take us. It's it's going to be cool. So.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Marvel's still on it, man. I think that they're still, crushing it. You know what I mean? Not everything is great, of course, but what is, what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
They're not all going to be winners, but I've still been enjoying them,
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly my point. Hey, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. So,
and if nothing else, Jonathan Majors killed it. Like, he killed it so hard. Yeah.
Great. And how about that? That costume definitely looks cool when that man has it.
Yeah.
You're like, well, he looks intimidating and he looks scary.
For real. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm all in. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. I don't think he died. I really don't.
Oh, no. Yeah. I just told Double A, I said, he was so icy, he commanded the screen when he was there, and he came off regal like a conqueror,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for real. He was literally an emperor and someone who has done so much and rules everything. And, yeah. And you're right. It's like Stone Cold, he was like, hey, I promise to take you back. I'm going to do it. And then she, betrays him. And he's like, yeah, you're dead to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was telling Double A, even just the way he stands, right, Jared, like with the one hand over the other, like very, very regal. I was like, all right, this dude is scary, man. It's scary stuff.
Which is so funny because he played who was it at the end of the world? I can't think of his name right now. He who remains.
Yes.
He played He Who Remains, like the complete opposite. He's kind of like loopy because he's all by himself for so long at the end of time, and so I'm excited to see where it's going to take us.
Great. Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, and I'm all in now. I'm ready for Loki season 2.
Oh, I know, right? Like it's like it was kind of felt like a ways off, but this just got you like wetted your beak for it. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I know they just moved it back a few months, but all right.
That's okay.
Yeah, if it's going to improve I'm good with it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
But so before we get into BraveStarr, which is what we're here to talk about tonight, I want to ask you a few questions. So this is a new segment that I started this season. It's called Hit Me with the Toaster. So I want you to hit me with the very first answer you can think of, just the first thing top of your head. All right. Favorite 80s movie?
Bloodsport.
Ghostbusters.
Oh man, both amazing. All right, very cool. I'm all in. All right. Favorite 80s TV show?
Alf.
Married with Children.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Because I was trying to think of something in the 80s that actually was in the 80s.
Yep, started 87. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
That is a great pick. Yeah.
Favorite 80s song?
Probably Human Nature by Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Under Pressure. I'll say Under Pressure.
Oh, nice. All right.
That's a choice.
Yeah, I like that. And finally, favorite 80s toy?
Oh,
I love them all so much.
Mumra's toy.
Oh, that was a cool. The ever living
big one.
Yeah.
Yes. No. The ever living where he's just like massive.
Yeah.
That was a great toy.
And I think the eyes lit up too, right?
Yes, it did. And I think it had the arms too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with one of the Silver Hawks. Yeah.
You had a lot of cool like swords.
I did. Yeah, I had a lot of cool He-Man swords too. But no, it's definitely got to be one of the Silver Hawks because you squeeze their legs and their arms would open up and they have those metallic wings. So they're cool. I've been on the hunt for a classic one, but good luck to me on that.
Yeah, that's you'll be paying some big bucks. I think.
Big time. Yeah. I always appreciate you, Jerry, because you stoked the fire in me with something that I just told Double A. I said, of course I went on eBay to look at BraveStarr toys and I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God.
I know. Like you can find some loose for like $45-$60, but
no hat though.
Yeah, exactly. No hat. A lot of the accessories missing. And then the ones that are like mint on card are like 300.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. If I had a lot of disposable income, yeah. But I don't.
I can remember, Jerry, even like the way they felt, like the texturing on the figure, and they were big.
Dude,
they were huge. They were 8 inches tall. Yeah.
They were so. And there's a local shop here in town in San Antonio called Gigi's Emporium. Shout out to them. I reached out to them and I was just like, any BraveStarr in the shop? Like I sometimes just want to hold it in my hands. And they're like, the guy goes, man, I wish. He's like, I wish I could get some in here. And so I just bought some monster in my pocket from that guy. So,
nice. My brother, we all kind of collected a little bit, but my youngest brother Danny, he's the one that he was all in on Monster in My Pocket. And I remember for his birthday one year, he got the full. That it was like a mountain, right? Like the case.
Yes.
Had them all, and that was like his big present for his birthday that year.
Man, awesome. Yeah.
I think they had like a power ranking to them too, depending on the
color.
They did.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I always thought that was cool. They put a lot of effort into it.
I was always a little salty that the vampire was so low.
Yeah,
because Dracula, he can control like wolves and beasts, and he's super powerful. But I think they're just a generic vampire. That's my that's my justification.
Like the 3 in Nightmare Before Christmas that are just hanging out with umbrellas. They're just kind of like random vampires. They're like you're not Dracula. You're just randos.
That's right. Oh man! But tonight we're here to talk BraveStarr.
BraveStarr. In a distant time and faraway place, the planet of New Texas floats deep in space. Sky of 3 suns, land of precious ore. The Kerium rush brought outlaws by the score. one day a lawman appeared, with powers of hawk, wolf, puma, and bear. Protector of peace, mystic man from afar, champion of justice, martial BraveStarr. BraveStarr.
Eyes of the hawk, ears of the wolf, BraveStarr.
BraveStarr.
Strength of the bear, speed of the puma.
BraveStarr.
Before we get, deep into this particular episode, what do y'all remember about BraveStarr? Like what's your experience with it?
So first off, it was really cool because it was like New Texas, right?
Right.
So living in Texas is like, oh wow, New Texas.
Yeah.
It's a Western. It's a Native American. That's the Marshal.
Right.
So that was like cool stuff for me that I remember just always remembering to
Right.
this day. It was like those elements.
Yeah, totally. I remember, again, some of those things I didn't remember. I forgot that it was Planet New Texas. I forgot that Marshall BraveStarr was Native American. But for me, I mean, like, again, the iconic toys, they were big. I had BraveStarr, I had Tex-Hex. I had one of the blasters, and I had that backpack that went on to BraveStarr.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think I had the bartender too, which was a
Handlebar.
Yeah.
Great-
Which was
great
great.
name.
And I always wanted the red guy with the claw hands.
Sandstorm.
Sandstorm.
Yes.
That's it.
That's the
Yeah.
one it was like my one I was after. I remember watching it and enjoying it, thinking that, BraveStarr and Tex-Hex were cool.
Mhm.
I will admit, rewatching, I forgot some elements.
Stampede, right?
Yeah, Stampede. I
Stampede.
forgot about Stampede. I had
Yeah.
forgot about the JB.
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 Yeah.
I forgot
the
about her.
judge.
The
Yeah.
judge.
Yes, the judge, which was cool. And I'd even forgotten about the little creature, the fluffy, the fuzzy
Scuzz.
Scuzz. Yeah.
I think Scuzz
Or
is the
Fuzz.
bad one,
Or
right?
Fuzz, the bad
No,
one.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Fuzz.
Whoever the
Fuzz.
fuzz, the little deputy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
Deputy
funny, right?
Fuzz.
The fuzz.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah.
But at the time, I just remember watching it, thinking it was cool, not really putting it together in the space western thing,
Right.
But in getting ready for the conversation, I was like, wow, it makes it real easy how much we love the Mandalorian, right? It's like the other space western.
Yeah, exactly. It's-
I was just telling Double A before recording, Jerry. I said, I bet if someone asked Dave Filoni, "Were you a BraveStarr fan?" He'd be like, "Oh, I loved BraveStarr."
Actually, almost.
Probably.
No, but just like the toys were kind of like what really stuck out to me. But of course, I mean, watching them hand in hand with the show,
Mhm.
But specifically like those heavy, detailed toys that were bigger
Right.
than the rest, and then that really great looking gun.
The Neutralizer, awesome electronic weapon in the battle between Tex-Hex and Marshal BraveStarr. BraveStarr! Now you've got the Neutralizer and Neutralizer Target, the weapon that really shoots invisible electronic beams to blast your enemy's target.
Gotcha!
But now Tex-Hex attacks. Look, he's on a Neutralizer target. Can you and BraveStarr blast it?
Ah! Awesome!
Join the battle. Blast the outlaws with the Neutralizer. New from BraveStarr. Batteries not included. Toys sold separately. Assembly required.
That's what really sticks out to me about it.
Yeah. So the toys were done by Mattel, released in 1986. The show came out in 87, done by Filmation. Now, I remember the toys, of course. I actually remember seeing the toys at KB. And so our KB, it was in the mall, of course, but it had like the ceiling. And then as you kept going further back, it actually was a lower ceiling, so it was like not as elevated. And that's where like all the cool toys were, and so you go down the quote unquote boy aisle, because it was like the girl,
Yeah.
the pink aisle, and then, the action figure aisle. And so you go to the action figure aisle, and it would have just pegs upon pegs of just filled with toys. And I remember seeing the BraveStarr one because they were so huge.
Yeah.
Only had BraveStarr. I never had any of the other figures. And I always kind of wish that I'd gotten the BraveStarr with the laser light backpack, that would actually,
Man.
I didn't have that one. I just had the regular one. But then the cartoon came out, and just like you said, same thing. It was like, I'm from Texas. Hey, it's New Texas. All sorts of, he's, I'm a little more brown skinned. He's a little more brown skinned.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like all those cool things. And, it's like, there's kind of a desert, and, it's like flat and brush. I'm in the valley where it's all flat and there's brush. I mean, it's like everything was just like clicking for me, it was like a big deal for us. I mean, how many times do we really get a show. I guess just Dallas and BraveStarr, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in the
That's
80s. That was
Yeah.
it. I can tell you this, guy, to both of you guys too, and I'll dig it out so I can post a picture when you do this. Post it up, Jerry. But I have to this day a red BraveStarr backpack. I lost the
Wow.
thermos, but it's really tiny.
Really?
It's from when I was a kid. Yeah, and all it has is like the logo on the small pocket in the front. But I've kept it after all these years.
So
and I
you
have
were
one.
really all in. It,
Oh yeah, I loved it. You
Yeah.
know, like you said, Jerry, the laser light backpack. I was telling Double A about it. I said, you
Mhm.
know, you would shoot the gun at it, and it would like click something in their back, and they would fall over,
Yeah.
which I thought was like the coolest thing. The battery pack like slid off the bottom of the gun.
Man.
It was like
was
it
cool.
was really rad, man. I was like, man, this is a cool blaster, you know. But yeah, I mean, it just feels like it hasn't gotten the love that some of the other stuff's
No.
got, like
No way.
Transformers and
No
Voltron and G.I. Joe. Now it's like
Right.
all that stuff kind of resurged, but He-Man resurged recently. So
yeah.
maybe we got to
Mhm.
wait a couple more years and we'll get a BraveStarr resurgence.
Maybe.
I mean, it's possible. I think part of the reason is that Filmation was like they did one season of it and then they stopped, and then Filmation was sold and closed before like the sale completed. So it was like a day right before this particular law was made that you had to give workers at least like 60 days before they could be, laid off. And it was like the day before they're like, yeah, we're closing the studio. Sorry. And and they were
Wow.
sold off. It was just like the craziest thing. That's why we really didn't get another one. But I would have liked to have seen more episodes with it because they really hit hard, some of those episodes. So there was the one
yeah.
I was watching with my kids a little while ago, The Price.
That's the one.
Oh,
That's
that's
the one.
Double
Yeah.
A just showed me clips of that. And he's like, did you see the one with the overdose? And I was like,
Yeah.
what? And
With
he
the
showed
kid.
me, with the
Yeah.
kid, and he showed me clips of it right now. And I was like, and when the mom starts to cry, I was
Oh,
like, dude, this
man.
is way heavy.
Yeah.
Like,
I lost it. Yeah.
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 Your kids are kind of little, Jerry. Was that a little too much for them, or you kind of felt like they
No,
presented it in a good way?
I think they presented it in a good way to where, they kind of got it. They were a little sad, but not traumatized. 'Cause
Yeah. Yeah.
I was watching with my 10-year-old and my 6-year-old. And although my 6-year-old did go to my wife afterwards and was like, I'm glad we don't have spin. Never buy spin.
Oh
You know,
man,
that's the name of the
awesome! He
drug.
did the job. He did the
Dang.
job.
I know. I was like, okay, good. That's good. But like, it was an intense episode. They actually
Yes, it
deal with
was.
like
Yeah.
drugs
Yeah.
and drug use, and they showed like people like whacked out of their minds on drugs.
Yeah.
Like they were
It's a
filling up
good-
the drunk tank was getting filled up essentially, and then they were being carted off to the hospital, and then at the end, like the kid ODs,
Right.
and you're just like, wow, man.
He
That's
even,
potent.
he even gives the first one free too. They
Yeah.
even like,
Oh,
here,
wow.
yeah,
It's-
here, try it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's free. It's on the house.
And who's dealing? It's not Tex-Hex, right?
No, it's
It's a
a
dingo.
a
It's a
Oh,
dingo.
the dingoes. Yeah.
But his name is called Dealer.
dealer. That's all they call him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I hope BraveStarr got him, man.
Oh,
That's,
he gets locked up.
oh,
That's it.
I would have dealt with a Dick Tracy style
Oh,
beat down.
there,
for that
there was
guy.
no Texas death penalty there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was still new. They didn't. There were some adult issues that they dealt with that I had forgotten about when I was a kid as well, or maybe I just didn't get it when I was a kid. I don't know.
That's
But
right.
And I was thinking maybe that's why. Maybe like Robotech. That's why a lot of them don't really remember this one too much.
Mhm.
It's that it was pretty
Right.
heavy. a lot
yeah,
of these,
for real.
a lot of these cartoons. you know?
Interesting. And I
You're
can't.
like, let me
I
go
can't
watch
remember,
Real Ghostbusters instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I was.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything else like GI. I mean, I know GI Joe had those specific messages at the end, but they didn't really deal with heavy stuff during the
No,
episode. Like
no.
it
Not
was pretty
really.
much like we're going after Cobra and
Yeah.
and that's it, and Yo Joe, and that was it. I mean, like even Transformers, I don't think really dealt with like heavy stuff like that, at all. So
Just
that,
the movie,
I was-
where Optimus Prime
Yeah.
dies and all the other bots
Right.
are killed.
Mhm.
right, but that's
But-
pretty hard hitting,
but-
man. Yeah,
yeah.
kudos to BraveStarr.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But I mean, I remember the villains were cool, like
Mhm.
Tex-Hex. I mean, first of all, the name Tex-Hex. That's just
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a cool name, but he's got like those red eyes. And then I remember
Mhm.
Stampede, who's kind of like the Emperor, I guess.
Yes.
He
Yes,
reminded me
yes.
very much of Horde Prime from the She-Ra
Yes.
and He-Man
Mhm.
cartoon.
Mhm.
Yes.
With Horde Prime, he's shrouded in smoke. You basically really only see the eyes and like his metal claw. He had three fingers, and Stampede was kind of the same. I mean, although in the movie you really see a lot of Stampede.
Yes, you do. Yes, where the planet blows up.
Right.
Yeah.
Their old planet, BraveStarr's planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I told Double A this too, Jerry. I had forgotten about Stampede. I had always thought Tex-Hex was the main primary, and I forgot that there was this creature that had imbued him with power and stuff. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool or whatever. And he looked. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, he looks pretty scary. But I'd always enjoyed the way Tex-Hex looked also. The cartoon a little bit more comical, but I don't know if you remember, and I was looking this up, but the packaging Tex-Hex was almost like a painted type art, and he looked more scary on the package. Tex-Hex, like,
nice.
Dang, on the box, it looked just more evil with the red eyes and the yellow teeth. That's like, oh man, he looks pretty terrifying in that painted packaging of the toy.
There's something about like 80s box art,
Yes.
it's like it was all airbrushed, like it it really
pops.
got the point across. Yeah, it pops exactly. It just, because I remember like some of those He-Man ones,
Great art.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a big poster for my son. It's like it's got the two the good guys, the bad guys with battle bones, like all the teams. It's got the horde in the middle, and it's it's just this cool poster that I got really big for my son for his birthday. And you could just tell there's something about the hand-drawn, hand-painted stuff.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
like, wow. Yeah.
It's just like when we watch movies from that time, right, where there's like practical effects, and you're like, man, they really put like love into their craft. And I think that that's what was going on with these 80s cartoons too. They really put a lot of love into their craft. The other thing too about those packaging, like you were saying, Jerry, about the top shelf, for me it was Toys R Us. That was like the mecca, right? If you made it to Toys R Us, you were having
you got more of a variety.
You were winning, right? And I remember that they were not on that like a blister card like He-Man was, where it's like there's just the card and then the toys on top. Those BraveStarr toys were like inside of a box. You know what I mean? And it was like, man, it's big and it's heavy. Because I remember a couple of times like dropping that on my knee or on my hand, and I was like, this heavy toy like hurts. It's like it had weight to it, man. It was no joke. Those toys.
All that 8-inch toy right there.
Big time.
Now, the downside of the cartoon is that it was done by Filmation, and I love Filmation. They had some good stuff, but Filmation, you can always tell their style. It's like long establishing shots with like a painted, there's no real action. It's just like it kind of pans down the background so you can get a feel. And then they used a lot less frame per second. So 24 frames per second was like the standard that kind of gives that smooth motion. And they would go underneath that. And so sometimes it looks a little choppy, and so those are like the two big hallmarks of Filmation style. And you could tell in this episode that we see. The other thing I noticed too is that some of Tex-Hex's facial expressions got really cartoony,
Yeah.
You can't see. It's not an audio visual medium, but he really like exaggerates in certain parts. Which is cool for a kid, my kids laughed, they enjoyed it. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe I get it. But I would love to see like a live action version of this.
Oh my God.
Man, that would be so awesome.
I found myself too, like kind of like fantasy casting in my mind. And I was like, man, who would you cast? Right. Cause BraveStarr looks so great with that big square jaw. And, again, being, Native American is like, I think really cool. I was like, man, what a great, thing. And of course Shaman's there, but I guess I just didn't pick up on it as a kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, man, that would be, it'd be amazing. That would be really, really rad, Jerry. I agree.
Who would you cast? That's tough,
man. I want to.
I have no idea.
We need to get a good, a real Native American actor, I think, to play BraveStarr or whatever, and they've got to be kind of buff. You know what I mean? So,
well, that might not happen.
Well, who would you 80s cast? Is there someone from the 80s?
I don't know.
That's.
I mean,
who I get? Billy from Predator.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
Oh, perfect.
If it's
perfect.
in the 80s. I mean, that guy practically was BraveStarr,
right? Wow. Yeah, that would have been perfect.
I mean, now I don't know. I don't know who we have now. You know what I mean? But wow.
That would have been perfect.
I at the time though. Yeah, but man, and then can we get back Franklin Jella to be Tex-Hex instead of Skeletor?
Rest in peace.
Tex-Hex
man.
Oh yeah, he would have been good
in the 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah. I think he could have brought something to it.
Well, I mean, he made. Let's face it. As much as I love the Masters of the Universe movie, it's terrible. It's not a good movie. But Skeletor made that movie. You know, it's all that
so
Shakespearean dialogue that he, the monologues that he just performs magnificently. It's like, wow, yeah, Frank Langella, he's the one. He's the one that made that movie. Yeah.
Even when he's, they're whipping He-Man and he's like into it, you know what I mean? It's like the whole thing is great. Like I was like, this is pretty powerful performance from him, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'd dig that as Tex-Hex for sure. Yeah.
I can see it.
In this episode, it's it's called Texas Terrible Night. It's basically an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. But we get a little bit of Texas background. If you've seen the movie, you get an expanded version of that background.
That was perfect.
Yes.
That movie actually was supposed to come out before the show, and then production things caused it to come out afterwards. The show like kind of just jumps in and we start to get like sprinkled little bits of backstory for everybody, but the movie really expands it. And so we'll kind of just talk a little bit about BraveStarr's his whole character biography and stuff like that, and then we'll get into the episode. So
okay,
yeah, BraveStarr and Shaman come from a particular planet that I guess because of their magic it attracted Stampede, who they never really specify if he's like a demon or if he's like just an alien presence or like some
cosmic
sort of
entity, maybe.
Exactly. Just something. He's some sort of just
like a Pennywise,
scary being. Yeah. Yeah. And it attracts his attention. He goes for like their power source and pretty much destroys like almost everything. He blows up their whole planet. Most of them, I think some of them escape. Most of them seems like they don't.
They don't, yeah.
And, which is crazy, but Shaman and the young BraveStarr escape, and he jettisons him out into like where the galactic marshals kind of are so that they can find him and adopt him and train him. And he imbues him with certain powers that he has but doesn't really understand till later on when, as an actual marshal, he comes to New Texas and meets up with Shaman, who I guess finishes the ceremony and grants him the powers, which are, and these are cool, eyes of a hawk.
Yes.
So where he can see far away, he can sometimes get like vantage points as if there was a hawk flying, kind of like Beastmaster, if you remember Beastmaster.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
Ears of a wolf, so he has like super hearing. Strength of a bear, so super strength, and speed of a puma. Now, being the nerd that I am, I looked it up. I wanted to know how. So pumas can travel at about 50 miles per hour. So Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, at his maximum speed was 27 miles per hour. So BraveStarr can run twice as fast as Usain Bolt.
Wow.
And there's that one scene in the movie where he's cruising, man. It looks like he's going flash speed,
Yeah.
And maybe it is. This is just, this is on Earth. I don't know about New Texas where gravity is different.
No kidding. Right. Yeah, no kidding.
I'm like, why are you busy riding 30-30? Like, it's just a waste.
Right?
I'm like speed of a puma all the time,
For real. But then I also wondered, okay, so how strong are grizzly bears? Male grizzly is about 5 times as strong as a man, and so he can easily lift about 700 pounds. And I thought this was kind of cool. His paw swipe, the force of a swipe of his paw is about 19,700 pounds, foot-pounds per second, which is a lot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
you get hit with that paw, you're creamed. Yeah. That's over for you.
Pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
I will say this: when he, when in the movie, when he's, using strength of a bear and he's fighting, 30-30, I was thinking to myself, I was like, who would win between a horse and a bear? I'm like, it's an interesting, because I'm sure if that horse gets a kick on a bear, it's like, you might think it's going to go to the bear real quick, but I mean, because a horse easily weighs over. What, 700 pounds?
Because it can break you if it falls on you. It can break.
Yeah, it can.
I just imagine that horse turns around, gets out a kick. It's gonna kick the heck out of that
bear. So depending on what size, I know some bears have been shown to grow up to about 1,700 pounds, But yeah, a horse's kick is pretty powerful. So who knows? But that'd be a good
Interesting.
fight. I'd like to see them
Interesting.
finish it. Yeah.
Especially if it's a cocaine bear, then you got a whole nother a whole other element to the fight there.
I wonder if BraveStarr has the strength of a cocaine bear.
No, it's spin. He's got to be on this.
Oh,
spin.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
of a spin bear. Yeah.
Dang, man. No, BraveStarr. No.
Yeah. But that's how he gets to New Texas, and that's kind of, he goes up against Tex-Hex, who was partners with McBride, who happens to be the father of the new judge, JB, and it's because of Tex's double cross that he actually cripples.
Paralyzed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so he has those leg braces to kind of help him do stuff. Yeah. So, and then in the process with Tex betraying him, when we'll find out later on, he gets hurt and then imbued with power, like you said, by
Yeah,
Stampede
I think he
to be
actually
his servant.
dies.
I think he might actually die. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Stampede kind of turns him into dust.
He does. Yeah.
And then kind of regrows
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
I was
That's
like-
when he gets the
and
kind
he's
of
putting all the evil in him.
right.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's kind of scary.
Which I didn't remember. I knew he had white hair. I remember the white hair, but I always thought he was just an old, But
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was from the effects of the rebirth process that he
Yes.
was just this gnarled, shriveled, looking
Purple
dude.
skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely creepy, man. There's a creepy
Yeah,
part.
he is.
The
I see him in real life. Put it that way.
yeah, and again too, the toy, they made it look with one facial expression, and it's a pretty creepy looking face on the toy. You know what I mean? Again,
Yeah, it
they
is.
were the yellow teeth, the red eyes, and then that white, hair. It's great design.
Yes, it
Great
is.
design on Tex-Hex.
Yes, it is.
Mhm. Yep, I agree. Yeah. So, and in fact, the whole show started with Tex-Hex. I don't know if you knew that. It's they were. So it's funny, and I only know this because I'm doing an episode on the Real Ghostbusters tomorrow night,
nice.
actually.
Oh,
So when they were designing, the Ghostbusters movie came out, Filmation actually had produced a live action show. It was 15 episodes, something like that, in 1975, called Ghostbusters. And so when the movie came out, they thought they would kind of capitalize on the name of the movie, that they had lent out. They had sold that name to the guys, Ivan Reitman and them, to actually make
Right,
Ghostbusters.
right.
So they tried to capitalize on this, and they created their own Ghostbusters show. And while they were doing that, they designed Tex-Hex. And that's when Lou Scheimer, the head of Filmation, was like, I like this. Let's work on a show with this guy over here. And that's how they created the space western that we get,
Crazy.
BraveStarr. Yeah.
Very nice.
So part of it, we can thank Ghostbusters for BraveStarr.
totally.
No kidding,
Yeah,
man.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
so he would have been a cowboy ghost.
I was saying
Yeah,
that would have been
probably.
interesting.
Wow.
To see
Okay.
him come out.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of curious to know what episode that was for.
Wow.
I love when there's a design so good, right? They're like, you know what, this needs more.
Right, no kidding.
And
Yeah.
the Ghostbusters, he probably would have come out in one and
So
done.
it's all because
One and
usually
done,
it's a
yeah.
hero, but this one is Tex-Hex. It was based around him. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's pretty cool.
That's
Right, let's
crazy.
build a show around this looking ghoul.
Yeah. Wow.
So this particular episode, Texas Terrible Night, like I mentioned, it's kind of an adaptation of A Christmas Carol, but it's a strange adaptation of A Christmas Carol because, our main hero, or I should say, it's a strange episode of BraveStarr because our main hero barely comes out.
Right.
He's at the very beginning, and then he's got to go deal with this problem over there. He and 3030 split. And then, over here we get the crux of the matter, which is Tex-Hex's Scrooge, and then we get Shaman as the ghosts. And that's why it's a
Yeah.
strange adaptation of A Christmas Carol, because he's pretty much like all the ghosts,
Yes. Yeah.
except Future. We get a little bit of Ghost of Future as well. But he's just he's like, you know what? I'm going to Charles Dickens this guy and make him change.
Hey, if you're gonna make a Christmas episode of your animated series, you're gonna go with that story, right? To tell, you know what I mean?
Funnily enough, on the Real Ghostbusters, they also did a version of A Christmas Carol for their Christmas
That's right.
episode.
That's right.
Well, I gotta say, Jerry, me and Double A were also talking about, we're like, what mastery of storytelling, because they get that story condensed into what, 22 minutes?
20 minutes.
20
yeah,
yeah.
21 minutes. Yeah.
That's pretty masterful storytelling
Yes, it
right
is.
there,
Yeah.
And it hit me. Like, I was like, dang. I said, way to go, Jerry hit me in the feels with this episode. I was like, man.
Again, remember the first time was with the Robotech.
Yes. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Thankfully, Thundercat's been easy on me, but
yeah. I had to ease you in, But yeah, I mean, it's like pretty intense. So BraveStarr and 3030 leave, and Scuzz, who's like the only the only member of the prairie people who's, I guess, kind of evil. He's part of Texas crew or gang, I guess. And so he kind of overhears all this, and he goes to report to Tex, who's like, all right, well, we're going to attack on Christmas. It'll be awesome because it's Christmas. They won't expect it. But it's very much just like Chiron, right? From
yeah.
And BraveStarr's gone.
Yeah.
BraveStar's gone too.
Which also too, what a great way to get yourself some, if you haven't been villainous enough, if planning something awful on Christmas Day, make you pretty villainous right there. Yeah. I was like, ooh, that's nasty of you, Tex-Hex. Come on now.
And Chappie.
And so Tex is like, all right, let's do this. And he's all excited. And Shaman, because he's Shaman and just kind of knows things, he knows the evil's up. And so he goes to visit Tex and give him basically his Christmas present, I guess, if you will. And so I like how we see Tex in like just his red, like long johns.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that to Double A as well. I said, man, that was great. They put him like in like westerny, like old long johns that you be wearing. I was like, who knew Tex was wearing something underneath it?
I mean, I
did. Yeah. He's lounging, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like
and he was lounging.
He's lounging, plotting. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, cool.
Hey, bad guys got to be comfortable too,
Yeah.
So yeah, Shaman's like, all right, you're coming with me. And so he's kind of the Jacob Marley. And then right there, he immediately turns into the ghost of Christmas past. And so he's like, you weren't always evil, Tex. And he shows him his past, where we see that Tex once, and man, it was kind of trippy to see Tex as like this young guy with brown hair. He's kind of buff. And I was like, all right, Tex, man, okay, I get it.
With the good looking woman.
Yeah. Ursula. It's always a redhead in the 80s. Scarlet, Tila,
Okay, Chitara.
Jean Grey. I mean,
Jean Grey, that's right. It's always a redhead. So he's with this redhead. Ursula is her name, and they were like in love. They were going to get married. He's like, I'm going to go off to try to make it rich with some Kerium, which is kind of like their gold or
Energon
oil. Right? Yeah, like Energon cubes. It's basically like the priceless thing, the spice. If you're talking Dune,
Dune,
it's like it's like whoever has a Kerium, has the money, and so he's gonna go make it rich, and he leaves her with his partner McBride, go make it rich. And so at first Tex is like, don't show me this. I don't want to know. I don't remember this. And you kind of see he turns around a little bit. He's like, no, I can't take this. But then Shaman shows him when he's like starts to turn evil, and he like double-crossed McBride. He like kicks him in the face.
Yeah, twice.
Twice, yeah. He has him tied up. He's using the prairie people as like slaves.
Yeah,
like
it's
what
funny, Jerry, because me and Sam were like, man, he looked like he was great. He was cool. Like before they set off on their mission over there, it's like from somewhere on that planet to New Texas, man, he just like turned into a bad guy.
Yep. It's
like slaves and turning on your partner. I was like, where did this come from in the 2-hour ride that they were on?
Exactly. That's why I told Double A that too. I said, man, he leaves Ursula, this young, ambitious guy who wants to make some money so that they can get married. And he says, I think he even says like, oh, I just want to like farm
just a little bit. Yeah, just come. Yeah.
Yeah. And she even tells him, don't go because I might not see you again. I feel like I'm not going to see you again. She's like, we don't need it. We don't need to be rich or whatever. We have each other. Like, I'm like, man, it's very touching, right?
Yeah.
And then like This must have been the flight from hell, right? Because I'm like, he gets off
A
he's on
3-hour
automatic
tour.
Yeah, no kidding. He's ready to be like, oh, there's some great people here to be slaves. He's like, let me kick my partner in the knees. He's just like a total jerk when he gets off of
I was
that.
like, what happened?
I feel like he's got like that gold madness, or something.
Yeah, could be that.
Like in the dwarves when they in Tolkien when they they delve too greedily. It's like, oh, okay, he's. I don't know what happened.
Like,
but yeah.
Maybe McBride is kind of like John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and he's the Steve Martin character, Tex-Hex, and he just is like he's had it by the end. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna kick you right in the face.
Like the worst travel partner ever.
Yes, exactly. That has to be what happened because then he completely turns on him. And
he just went completely evil.
All the way evil. Man, I would love the story of that journey. Maybe secretly Stampede, like inceptions him or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little something there, sometimes, like you said, but I like yours too, Jerry. The gold fever, you know what I mean?
Maybe it's a little bit of everything, Maybe McBride was awful. He got gold fever. Stampede was also whispering in his ear already. I mean, middle of everything. I
like that. That's very because when Stampede is turning him, he's like, "Oh, I like you. You got cruelty. You've got all these things." Like, what? He was going to get married.
Yeah, he was
a couple of hours ago. I mean,
well,
I'm sure
we don't know how long he's been out there.
Right.
It could have been a while.
Longer than we thought. Yeah. I mean, I know Double A's been on a 16-hour flight. I've never been on a flight that long, but I mean.
Well, I didn't turn evil.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because you didn't have McBride sitting next to you.
Yeah, I didn't have McBride. Yeah.
Right.
So he has his turn and he overloads his ship with Kerium. And I like how there's no like containers or anything for it. They literally just dump it in the
right in the back.
Shit. Yeah.
you can see it right behind
spilling out. Yeah. You see it spilling out right into the cockpit, but he overloads it. It's unstable, and he pretty much crashes, and he probably dies. For sure, he's unconscious. He might be dead. We don't know. But Stampede sees him, and he's like, "You're perfect," and he picks him, and he gives him like all these powers.
Take now these powers. Transformation. And sorcery! Feel your new powers, my servant.
He can create snakes, like in the movie. He creates like those spirit snakes or whatever they are. He can shoot like powerful energy blasts. He can do all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
That I don't remember him using that much in the cartoon. I remember him using his blaster more in the cartoon.
Right.
I mean, he used it, just not quite as much as like in the movie,
Yeah, I was telling Double A the same thing, Jerry. Like, I was like, man, I didn't really remember that aspect of him because he even says like sorcery.
Yeah, because I was like,
sorcery,
wow,
yeah.
it's kind of like, because I thought like you, Jerry. I was like, man, it's like a Skeletor.
Yeah,
like this, and Stampede was Hordak, completely changing Skeletor into like this ultimate being now.
Yeah,
right.
And again, I kind of remember. I didn't really remember, rewatching these. Either one of them having powers. I just remember them kind of like shooting it out, old Western style lasers and stuff. But I was like, oh yeah, I guess they both did have powers. I just that aspect was lost on me.
Yeah, and Stampede, we see. I mean, in the movie especially, we see he's got like crazy powers. He like resurrects members of, I guess, his race, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
these like huge steer dinosaur things. I mean, he does all sorts of stuff. I mean, we see him resurrect Tex. So he's definitely like a necromancer of some sort,
Yes.
If you want to get into like D&D terms or anything, but
no, you're right, Jerry. And if you've got that power already, you're already messing with stuff. It's like, oh, if you're dealing with the necromancy, you're in the bad side of the magic already.
That's yeah.
You're all the way evil.
Yep.
So Shaman's showing him his past, and I like how Tex is like, that's more like it. he's like all getting into it, like, yeah, that's good.
That great stagecoach robbery, right? He's like, oh, that's a great day.
That was a great
that was a
day.
great
We
day.
stole a lot that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow, this is like the classic villain right here. I love it.
Yep. But then he's like, you didn't realize who you hurt that day is someone you knew. And he's like, someone I knew. And it turns out Ursula was in the stagecoach that he robbed. And he's like, what? I didn't know. If I wouldn't have done it if I had known she was there. And I mean, he's just like, he kind of still has a thing for her buried somewhere in there that he didn't really know, which again is really cool. It's that long lost love that he had forgotten.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
And then too, how they, they're going to tell us in a little bit that, she marries that stagecoach driver. It's like, wow, inadvertently, he's responsible for putting her in another man's arms, which is like, that's deep. That's deep
really
storytelling.
deep.
I'm like, dang, like later on when he's like, who's that guy? And he's like, oh, that's the stagecoach driver. He's like, she's with that guy. And I'm like, dude, that's your fault. I was like, that's great writing.
That is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it shows her, going up to him because he's hurt. He's kind of leaning up against the broken stagecoach. And she's like, are you okay? It'll be all right. We'll get some help, And he's just like, but then he's there, they're both riding into town, because now he takes Tex to the present, and he's like, yeah, they're on their way to Fort Kerium for Christmas. And Tex freaks out, Fort Kerium on Christmas, but I'm gonna attack.
That was a great scene with the reaction and everything, the voice acting on that part.
I agree.
It's a really good part. Yeah.
Which
like,
I guess time we probably should mention that Tex was voiced by Charlie Adler, who most people remember as Buster Bunny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because me and Double A were saying we saw Oppenheimer's voice, Alan Oppenheimer's voice at the end of the credits.
He's Stampede.
He's Stampede. Yeah. Okay. I was like, oh, great. And who else is he famous for? He's famous from the 80s.
Well, of course, Mossman.
Mossman. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Skeletor was probably his most famous role.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's Alan Oppenheimer, man.
It's great stuff, man. I'm telling you, it's synonymous, I feel like, with 80s cartoons.
Oh, big time.
Pretty much, yeah. Skeletor is his most famous. He was Falcor from the Never-Ending Story.
Whoa, that's great. Yeah.
Yep.
That's talk about iconic 80s movies you could have named. You know what I mean?
Kidding,
like, that would have been one right up there.
And he did, I don't know if you remember this, he did Alfred in the Superman Batman Public Enemies movie.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, no, I did not know that.
Wow,
that's pretty good. It's a good
So
Alfred.
recent, too.
Yeah.
Man, that's a recent one, too.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah, BraveStarr is voiced by Pat Fraley. He's done quite a few things as well. I remembered him most as the voice of General Hawk from G.I. Joe.
Oh, classic. Nice. I used to have a talking General Hawk G.I. Joe that it came with like this big box on the back, and you push there was like 4 buttons. You push them, and it would like you'd say like "Yo Joe" and things like that.
Yeah.
His cousin actually is Cam Clark, the other voice actor, who most people would know as Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
He was here in New Braunfels today.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Very cool. My favorite turtle.
Yeah.
Oh,
They have
nice.
the 4 original voices from the cartoon here in New Braunfels today.
For
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
With April.
Very cool.
With the actors.
Oh, wow.
April, too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I said Pat Fraley was General Hawk. That's I messed up. He's actually Ace in Barbecue from G.I. Joe. It was Ed Gilbert, who was General Hawk. He's the voice of 3030. I had him switched in my notes here, so that's my mistake. But yeah, I mean, they had some pretty good names here.
It's like the rotating crew, right? Of
Right.
Like names,
Yeah.
Right. I worked on here. I worked on here. I worked on here.
And
Right.
Again, these guys' voices are like iconic in guys our
'Cause you're
age's
like,
minds.
you're like, I've heard
cartoons.
this voice before. In some other
Yeah.
cartoons. Yeah.
JB was voiced by Susan Blue, who you might remember as the voice of RC from Transformers,
Okay.
or Stormer. If you ever watched Gem, she was Stormer's voice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Those are like the ones that I know her from mostly. But I mean, it's like 5, maybe 4, maybe 5 voice actors that they just kind of cycle through, and everybody does like a million voices. You know?
That's great.
How they do it. Yeah.
What a great time to be a voice actor, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
For real.
You got in that circle. I mean, it's like, I'm sure you were set. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, okay. So yeah. So he takes him to the present, and Tex is like, I can't, I got to go through with it or stampede, I have to do it. Like,
yeah.
I have to. Shaman's like, okay, well, let me take you to the future now. So he takes him to the future, and this is where he shows him that, first of all, he's not around anymore.
What's he doing with my men?
Sending them into action.
But, I'm in charge. I give the orders.
Remember, this is the future, Tex. You are no longer a part of Stampede's plan.
That can't be.
He's like, why Stampede telling everybody what to do? That's my game. But he even says, like, that's my game. They're my game. Like, okay. And Shaman's like, because you're not around anymore, bro. And so they do, of course, the standard Scrooge, the grave, and he sees his name is on it. And this is where we get some of the classic Filmation animation, where it was very jarring, kind of stilted. It wasn't quite as smooth as it could have been here. Although the rotoscoping when Tex is walking up to it was phenomenal. I thought it was like a great job there.
Yeah, that looked cool. And I wish that too, they didn't really kind of show us like the front of the grave. They kind of just showed us him.
He just says,
looking at it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's happening here? But yeah.
How nice of Stampede though, right? To actually bury him at the hexagon.
Yeah.
You got him a tomb and everything.
For real, yeah. That doesn't seem very Stampede-like, but good for him.
Great job, Stampede. Great
with
job.
A headstone and it all.
Yeah, he went all out for him.
But we do see, like, I guess, a quasi ghost of Christmas future.
Which looks spooky.
Yeah,
it looks
the guy in the robe. He has a cowboy hat on, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Yeah,
and a metal hand as well as he's pointing. So Tex wakes up. He's like screaming no. He wakes up in his own bed like Scrooge does. And it's Christmas Day and he gets ready. And I like how they're about to attack and he's trying to like stall. He's like, oh, maybe we should do it. Maybe we should wait a little bit before we do it.
Yeah. He gets all the way out there. He doesn't cancel the plans before. He gets all the way out there.
He's scared of Stampede.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing that shows you about the
the hierarchy.
Like, I'm strong, but I'm not stronger than Stampede is.
Yeah.
You can kill me.
Right.
Yeah, he made me. I mean,
yeah.
So finally Stampede's like, look, we're attacking with you or without you. I'll turn into my cloud form. I'll kind of provide some cloud cover and they won't see us coming. And so they start taking off and Tex is just there like, oh man, what do I do? But he realizes he can't hurt Ursula. He doesn't want her hurt. So he uses his blaster and he shoots Stampede, which causes him to kind of lightning it up or something.
Yeah, he becomes a storm, a rainstorm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that makes them visible. Like it's like, oh, we can see them now coming. So.
Right. And so then they're able to turn the town into like its fortress mode, which I always thought was super cool. And I wanted that playset. I remember wanting that playset so bad. I never got it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that existed. That's great. I'm going to look that up just to look at it.
Yeah. Right? I mean, it's just like one or two. I think like there was a central one or you could buy the one with like two additional, I think, but it would transform. And I thought that was super cool. But yeah, I wanted it. And the town just, so they're like, well, we can't attack now. I mean,
but yeah, they're like, oh, let's go back.
They're all sealed in. All right.
All right.
Now what are we doing our day, right? Yeah.
Well, let's have that Christmas party we were going to have.
Exactly.
Right? But so Tex is even like, well, I guess I'll just pay for it later. And Stampede's like, you'll pay for this? Tex-Hex.
That chewing out, right?
I'm
gonna get a chewing out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a chewing out. Yeah. I love that where he just relegates like, I'll just take it.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what happens. We cut to BraveStarr and 3030. They're back in town and they're kind of talking with Ursula and the driver. And Fuzz tells him, yeah, Tex like shot at Stampede, and then we saw him coming. and And BraveStarr's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And
Right.
Shaman's like, Christmas present?
Yeah, Christmas miracles. All
Yes.
that.
I also love what Christmas Carol is that they're playing, Jerry, or whatever. It's kind of like their own version of it, but it sounds really good. They did a really good version of it.
So I want to say I didn't write it down. I remember I told myself, oh, just remember what it is, and I don't remember because they do it in the beginning, and it kind of segs into like another one. There's like actually two that I think they do. Was it God? No, it wasn't God rest him.
Good King Wenceslas.
Wenceslas?
Is it that one? Yeah, Wenceslas. Is it that one? Good King.
I think it was. I think it was.
Merry Christmas, Ursula. Merry Christmas.
God rest ye merry gentlemen.
Oh, God rest you, merry gentlemen. Yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, that's so like."
Yeah, the way they played it.
Yes,
right,
it kind of sounded a little westerny.
Like a westerny.
It really worked.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this is so great."
The music was banging.
Yes, I agree. Very westerny.
Yes, I think it's Frank Becker. I think is his name. And it was like really, but it was also really synth heavy. Like it was almost like an 80s. Like an 80s action sci-fi movie in a way.
Yeah,
there was like
you,
hints of Terminator, hints of Trancers in there. I mean, it was it was cool. I really dug the music too.
I did too. Yeah,
I was enjoying it too in the movie, and I was like, man, this
music's great, right?
Space western. I was like, man, like this show did not get enough. It needed more. It needed more.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see another season. Yeah.
No, totally. And it may have been like Double A said, it may have been too, and you were saying too, Jerry, but it may have been too many kind of like maybe a little bit older kid themes or whatever. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah, it's very true.
But what a I'm glad we got to all enjoy it.
For real. it's really for everybody our age.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So the toys, Mattel created the toys. They made BraveStarr, like we talked about. There was a handlebar. They actually had a handlebar toy. They had Fuzz, and then as far as the bad guys, they had Scuzz, Sandstorm, like you said. Of course, Sandstorm looked cool. He was just a cool looking.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he did.
Tex-Hex and Thunderstick.
Yes.
Yep.
The guy with the hand that had the hand.
Yeah, he's like a robot.
Kind of like Mandalorian, right? With the the Clone Wars character.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
They had a bunch of other things. Of course, they had sheets, pillowcases, and sheets because every 80s toy did.
Nice.
Man, nice.
There was even a comic book, a BraveStarr comic book for a bit.
Really?
Yeah, comic tie-in.
Okay.
And a video game as well. And
wow.
Video game too.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a computer game, so it was released on like the Commodore 64.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
Yeah, not a Nintendo. I would have loved a Nintendo version of it, you know?
Wow.
That would have been fantastic, man. That would have been really
No
cool.
kidding. Wow.
Yeah, but BraveStarr was cool. I really liked it. This episode I thought was great, and yeah, I'm all in on a remake. Let's get it going. Continuation.
Oh, yeah, he needs to. I mean, he's got everything people want nowadays, right?
I'm telling you, when Jerry drops this app, I'm going to be hashtagging until we get some traction with it. But yeah, like I'm telling you, Jerry, even the end, before they go back to BraveStarr talking about, but when Tex is saying, Merry Christmas, Ursula. Merry Christmas.
Man,
I was like, man, it's like really hit.
got him
I
right
was
there.
like, dang. I was like, I said, this was a really great episode. Like, it was really solid. I was hard pressed to find something I didn't like about it.
Yeah. And of course, just like the He-Man and She-Ra series, they do the PSA at the end. And I like how BraveStarr says, look, Tex is a character. So he's going to be evil again, basically next episode. But y'all are in real life, and if you look real hard, you might be able to find the good in someone that you think is bad. So that's pretty good. Good message.
I thought this PSA was okay. It was not my favorite because Double A showed me the one from the overdose episode. And I was like, that was
man.
much more solid. I was like, I guess I just didn't like that he said Tex was a character. I was like, no, don't break the fourth wall. Don't say that
totally
about
breaks
it.
the fourth wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I needed him to deliver that message without breaking the fourth wall.
Right. Well, like in that one you're talking about, the drug one. I mean, he's there at the little kid's grave.
Man, with the wreath. Ooh. I was like, oh boy, this is super heavy.
It was.
Drugs. Every year they claim thousands of lives. Each year, more young people like yourselves become involved in drugs. And each year, many of those young people end up like this. Drugs are dangerous. Drugs can kill. Don't mess with them. At best, you'll live to regret it. And worst, you won't live.
Well, and that one is crazy because it even deals with friends of people that are hooked, they didn't want to tell on them because, they promised, but this is one of those situations where no, you have to tell someone because maybe they can get help and turn it around,
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's an intense episode. It's really well done. And you're right. I wish it had gotten more play because it would have been phenomenal. But
big time.
Like I said, when Double A showed me just a few clips, I was like, that'll be on the watch list this week for sure. I'm gonna dive back into some BraveStarr.
Yeah, it's good. There's a few other ones. There's one where 3030 loses Sarah Jane, his big old blunderbuss.
The shotgun.
Yeah, he loses it and it falls into the hands of a child. It's like a member of this alien race that's they're pacifists, basically. They're these sheep people. And so they're we don't do guns, but it falls into the hands of one of their kids who starts destroying things and blowing things. And it's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's heavy. That is pretty heavy.
Yeah, they had some good, really nice episodes there.
There's an episode called Fallen Idol. That's a good one too. It's about BraveStarr's trainer. It's BraveStarr's trainer. He turns into a outlaw.
Oh, really?
And so BraveStarr has to go after him. So that was pretty damn cool. That was a good one. It's called Fallen Idol.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that. Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't seen the whole thing in a while.
Yeah, the actual guy that trains him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's some Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, even when Braveheart's dealing with the prairie people, I think that's in the movie or whatever, when he's like, no one's going to call you guys critters anymore.
Oh, yeah. When he gets after the mayor.
Yeah, he gets after the mayor. It's kind of they were kind of like these, people that were thought of as beneath.
Lower levels.
It's got its own little message there or whatever. And he's like, no, not anymore or whatever. So that's pretty cool. I liked how he flexed on him too. The other aspect I'd forgotten about, Jerry, was the whole him and BraveStarr and JB.
Oh,
the love story. Because in the movie, I totally didn't see all that coming. I was like, it's going to probably be in the episodes play out. I didn't realize that it didn't come out first. And I was like, it's going to be like a long drawn out, romance or He-Man Tila thing where it never really happened.
Yeah. Right,
and then they just embrace and kiss and stuff. I was like, what?
Yeah, he pulls her and then she pulls in.
Yeah, I was okay, here we go. So do you guys remember, did that were they together in the show? Or?
It was kind of,
I kind of saw, I didn't see it, but
it's implied, I think, more than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, after watching the movie, I don't think it's implied that much.
Yeah,
it's pretty explicit.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I was like, there's no moonlighting here. It was straight up.
Yeah, he even checks her out when she's bending over to pick up the book, right?
Totally does. Yeah.
I was like, okay, BraveStarr, I see you, man. All right.
Oh, wow, okay. It's the Wild West.
It's funny too, because when I was looking up stuff on eBay, that Blu-ray kept coming up of that. I guess they put that BraveStarr movie on Blu-ray, but it was also insanely priced. I was like, what the heck, man? It's
it sucks.
If you got it, you got it. If you didn't,
that was a really good movie. That was a really
good movie. Luckily, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's okay because this episode's going to cause a resurgence. They're going to re-release it. Nice steelbook.
Steelbook, yeah, like Transformers, right?
I think you're overestimating my
reach. Disney's going to buy the rights. We're going to get great casting. You know what I mean?
That'd be pretty cool, actually. Yeah,
I'm excited.
They came to New Texas from all across the galaxy. Some good, Some bad, mostly bad. It was rough, really rough. I mean, they needed 1,000 lawmen. They got one. But you know, it was enough. You might have heard of it. BraveStarr.
BraveStarr, today at 4:30 on Channel 2.
Now, joining me is a totally rad Christmas all-star and ratty winner. You'll know him as a host of the Tubular The Lost Christmas podcast. It's Jeff Loftin. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going great, Jerry. Super happy to be here and to talk about one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I can't wait.
So, spoiler alert, I might have had a club in second grade, all just totally about BraveStarr, and there wasn't a lot of us in it, but it was all right.
I think that just made you so much cooler in my book, Jerry. I might be the only one who's ever said that to you because of your BraveStarr.
Probably, yeah. I think you are. But yeah, like my dad made little cards and we had laminated them, cool. And it was everything. I think there was only maybe 3, maybe 4 of us. This is just one of those cartoons and toy lines that just, for one reason or another, it just didn't hit, which again is strange in the 80s because just about everything did.
Well, and it had all the things you would think. It had space, it had robots, it had cowboys, and it had
That's right.
an over-the-top bad guy and a hero with superpowers. I mean,
yeah, there was magic involved. Yeah, I don't know what the issue was, but for some reason it didn't hit with its intended audience. I did like BraveStarr a lot. I mean, obviously, if I had a club, but it was just, I think it got lost in everything. Because
I agree.
The cartoon came out in 87, of course, the toy line in 86, but Ninja Turtles came out in 87.
Yep.
And Ninja Turtles, I think, was just quirky enough that it overshadowed it.
I agree. And science fantasy space western may have been one step too far, perhaps for the average audience at this time. Maybe.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, let's see what we can throw in all together. Let's do ninja pirates. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of that same thing where on paper it looks amazing, but I think in practice it just wasn't quite. But anyway, but before we dive in, because we've already kind of talked about it, but I'm doing a brand new segment called Hit Me with the Toaster. So this is where I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to hit me with the very first answer you can think of. All right. Got it. So what is your favorite 80s movie?
Ghostbusters.
Perfect answer. Okay. Favorite 80s TV show?
He-Man, Masters of the Universe. Yep. And it not just because it's a cartoon and I was a kid in the 80s, but like literally just because it's awesome.
It's a man after my own heart. Favorite 80s song?
Initially what came to mind is Eye of the Tiger, which is super lame, but it's the truth. Yeah.
No,
it's probably not, but it's the one that came to mind. That's what you wanted, was what came first. So
awesome. And finally, favorite 80s toy?
Oh man, my Castle Grayskull, hands down.
Oh, dude, like you're hitting all the right buttons here. Yeah. I got Castle Grayskull for Christmas in 84, and it was the best gift. I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's such a cool set.
It really is.
Cool set, yeah.
And of course, He-Man, also famously done by Filmation. So Filmation was the one that did BraveStarr, which is what we're talking about tonight.
Yep.
Now Tex-Hex attacks with a new kind of evil.
BraveStarr! My Skullwalker will stomp you flat, BraveStarr!
Skullwalker 3030 BraveStarr and Tex-Hex Zone 70.
3030 can stand up to your evil, Tex-Hex! I'll transform Skullwalker and attack from the air. Use your blaster cannon to stop him, 3030. You're grounded, Tex-Hex. I'll get you for this.
Skullwalker and 3030 from the world of BraveStarr. Other action figures sold separately. New from BraveStarr.
And you can really tell with, Filmation is very famous for removing, or not removing, I should say, for animating with a lower frame rate than you normally would see. And you can
tell a nice way of putting it.
In this particular, it's better than saying they did everything on the cheap. But but you can tell, unfortunately, in this particular episode, there's a lot of Tex-Hex's movements that are very stilted and jerky, and it's just perhaps if they had filled in a little bit more, it might have taken off. But I really don't think that's it. I think it's just what you alluded to earlier, that it just didn't quite It was just one step too far, essentially.
I agree. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually shared some of the sound effects from their other, like across their different productions.
They totally did. Yeah.
Anyway, I think BraveStarr even shared his transformation sounds with He-Man.
So, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. And okay, so you've already mentioned you like BraveStarr.
Yeah.
How far does it go? Like, tell me about your history with BraveStarr, your experience.
Well, so growing up, my mom always made my Halloween costumes every year. She was a seamstress, like that was like a part-time thing she did. And so I was BraveStarr. Marshall BraveStarr.
That's cool.
At least once. I'm getting up there in age, so I can't remember all my Halloweens anymore. But
I understand.
But yeah, I mean, I had Tex-Hex, I had 3030, I had Marshall BraveStarr. There were a couple versions, I think, and
there were.
And then I had the I'm drawing a blank, but the town. I had the town playset. I think I got it secondhand when somebody else got rid of it So I mean, I've seen every episode. I try and rewatch every couple years the whole series because it's pretty short. So
yeah,
I love it, and the movie's good too. I think
I enjoy the movie.
They didn't cheap out on that one as much.
No, they really didn't. Filmation actually, again, very famous for rotoscoping. Most studios did. They just didn't hide it like other studios did. And,
that's right.
But you can really tell in the movie where there's much more detail in the movements. Yes. It's a lot more fluid. The shadow and shading is just a notch above the typical filmation stuff. But I really dig that movie. It's told very well. It's exciting.
I always recommend people watch the movie first.
Yes.
And then if you like the movie, then watch the series because it's only downhill from there.
It's true.
And don't get me wrong, I love the story. And I think Marshall BraveStarr is such a cool concept for a character. Although I'm sure you're going to get into the origin of the series, but it has a really unique origin story.
Yes. Well, I mean, now we might as well get into it. Yes. So Tex-Hex was actually a ghost that was being designed for the Filmation Ghostbusters cartoon series. And Lou Scheimer just saw it and was like, this is too good to go in this cartoon. Let's make a whole cartoon around that, which is an awesome concept if you think about it.
I think so. I think they should have done both. I think they should have had him as a Ghostbusters ghost and had an episode.
Yeah.
And then when they capture him and he gets sent, maybe he gets sent to New Texas. That's how. Anyway, I think there's a lot they could have done there, which would have been super cool.
Well, we know Stampede's a spirit or demon or something, which is what the Ghostbusters fought, and then he kind of imbues Tex with all these powers. What's a transformation and sorcery and I forgot what the destruction. I think whatever, but. Why not like Ghost Rider, like he bonded some sort of spirit to him, or I mean they could have worked it in totally.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also Filmation, so effort was not always the highest.
That's true. Yeah.
When you're trying to crank out 6,000 episodes a year, it's like you drop the ball at some point.
It is a shame that he only had one season of it.
I agree. Because of what, like 50 something episodes or something?
65 episodes. In order to sell it into syndication. 65. It's like 13 full 5-day weeks. So after school, that's 13 full weeks. That's like the minimum requirement. And so we see that with He-Man had 2 65 season episodes. So did She-Ra, all these others that I just wish we had gotten it with BraveStarr as well, because they have some really deep episodes. They have the drug one.
Yeah. Diving into a topic that's interesting at that point, right?
Yeah, and they had done it kind of previously with He-Man. There's one as well where I think his cousin turns out to be addicted to drugs, a wizard. Anyway, there's a whole thing. But in this particular case, it's so much more powerful just because the kid dies at the end.
Yes, yeah, there's a like a termination at the end. Like there's finality that's negative rather than the normal.
This is our clubhouse. He might be in here.
Easy, son. I'll call Doc Clayton.
Don't bother. It's too late.
Oh no! Jay! Oh no! Oh, Jay! Oh, Jay!
I mean, when we think of cartoons, right, we think of like, oh, well, we learned a lesson and it ends positively. Well, not this time, not for everybody. So
yeah. And of course, to really hammer it home, BraveStarr's there next to a grave, a gravestone, while he's talking about the horrors of drugs.
Because it's the 80s. So
yeah, that's right.
You can do that. Yeah.
that's right. Mr. T's rapping about it, but BraveStarr will stand by a tombstone.
Yep.
But yeah, so like there was that one. I remember the one where I think JB's dad like kind of finds another I don't remember if she was a former judge or something, but kind of attractive, and he wants to get with her, but JB has the feelings of, no, you're kind of cheating on mom. I mean, it's
it ventured into more of the periphery of what Filmation's like social objectives normally were, right? Normally they were like, hey, don't do drugs, be kind to each other, avoid dangerous situations. But in this one, they were like dealing with more mature subject matter, which may also have contributed to its decline, honestly.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
If you're reaching there and a parent only sees one episode and they're like, hey, turn that off, right? So, although it was the 80s again, so who knows?
That's true. Parents, what parents? No.
Yeah.
But yes, BraveStarr was a super cool character. He is of Native descent. I'm not going to say Native American because I don't know if they were actually American. I'm going to say just Native.
Yeah.
They were living on some unknown planet when his tribe, which is called the Tribe. Again, if you want to offend the least amount of people, just be as nondescript as possible.
That's right. Just generic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just the Tribe. Living on this planet when Stampede comes and tries to take over their power plant, because I think it would imbue him with some sort of cosmic power or something.
Yeah, and wasn't it the same resource that was on New Texas too?
It might have been. Yeah. I don't recall that part specifically.
I feel like it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because Kerium is the mineral that.
That's right. Yeah,
super
that's
powerful.
mined everywhere, and they have indentured servitude of the of the native people that live there.
Prairie
people. Yeah, which is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. That's a topic for a whole other a whole other Filmation series.
It's
but yeah. So Stampede attacks. He sends his horde, which is, I mean, those things were pretty frightening.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It was very intense. Like,
I think they're called bronchosaurs, if I recall.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They, so what's interesting is, though the animation wasn't always like smooth because it was Filmation, the character design, I feel like, was really, really good and distinct.
I agree.
With BraveStarr. Like, the characters are all very well, like, very distinct. And I love that. That may be honestly one of the things that caught me as a kid, is how distinct and cool the characters are, even the bad guys.
And it was very much a departure, because if you think about all of the characters that Filmation themselves created for like He-Man and She-Ra, they would just reuse models sometimes. They would just maybe change one or two things here. I mean, you look at oh gosh, I can't remember his name. The hunter in that one He-Man episode, he looks basically like Prince Adam with just a beard and a little
that's exactly, because that's what he was.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's exactly what he was.
You can tell, but there's a marked difference between Tex-Hex and Sandstorm, say.
That's right. Yep. Very different.
Yeah. And the fact that there was a talking horse was pretty cool too.
A talking mechanical horse.
That's right. Even better.
That was bipedal sometimes.
When he wanted to be, yeah.
When he wanted to be. I think 3030 was probably my favorite character in the show, just because he was half anthropomorphic and half not. So
yeah, it just depends on his mood, I guess.
Yeah, he was Lion-O and also Snarf.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yep, I went there. It's fine.
Fine by me. I'm turning on the turbo booster.
Yeah, so you're right. I completely agree. The character design was pretty flawless. Even JB gets to be not just a damsel in distress. So in the movie, she is wearing, I guess, I don't want to say era appropriate because it's in the future. So who knows what but
Old West,
typical Old West. Yeah. Old West appropriate. But quickly she transitions to wearing more of that field combat kind of judge's outfit. And, we don't see a lot of that in cartoons of that style. I mean, I guess we a little bit, but
it wasn't expected.
It wasn't expected. Really. Yeah. Yeah. And so you're right. It's just, I think they were aiming for something a little bit higher. And I think it just went over too many kids' heads.
I agree. It was ahead of its time and under a necessary budget.
That's right. Yeah.
but you know what? It doesn't. So nostalgia has this way of, whether it's Christmas or not, just nostalgia has this way of improving things to us, right?
True.
So
yeah,
we look at it through a different lens. Like if I were to show this to my kids now, there's no telling what they would think. But for me, I love it.
I can actually answer, at least with my kids. So I did show it to them, and they wanted to watch more.
Okay, well that gives me hope. I think my son would love it. He loves his hero stuff, right? Doesn't matter what it is, really.
Right.
He's big into Spider-Man right now.
That's
and
my son
Spidey
too.
and his amazing friends. He loves
that.
Yeah. So
with Ghost Spider and Miles Morales. Yeah, same. That's right. Same thing.
Yep. Yeah, and it's fun. That's a fun watch. So
yeah, but even my 10-year-old daughter really liked it and wanted to watch more. Like,
okay.
So we saw the Christmas episode, we saw the movie, and she was like, "Can we watch more BraveStarr?" And I was like, "Well, I have to watch this other thing for something else." So
sure.
I mean, but it made me feel pretty good because I remember loving it as a kid too. So
yeah,
at least I have something in common.
Yeah, here we are nearly 40 years later, and we're talking about it. So that means something.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we get into the Christmas of it all, let's talk about, or let's finish up his origin story. So Stampede attacks their planet, and he is actually able to absorb the energy, but it's too much for him, and it kind of overloads him, and in the process destroys his planet and all of the escaping ships save one. And that's the one that Shaman, who's their spiritual leader and I guess protector, and young BraveStarr are on. And so they're able to escape, thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, that's rough. I mean, that's like genocide right there too. So not only are they dealing with all these other topics, there's that too.
It's starting off with a bang, like literally. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is like Galactus, Eater of Worlds type of situation.
That's right. Yeah, it's literally like Conan,
Yeah, exactly. This is like world-ending type of stuff. So
right.
And then you get away, and you're like, "Oh, I'm so thankful." And then, oh wait, he followed us.
Yeah.
So let's do it all over again.
All right, we'll try to protect this planet then. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're gonna try.
Yeah. Turns out BraveStarr was deposited, I suppose, in like the Galactic Rangers. I think, is that what they're called? I think that's what they're called.
Yes, I think that's right.
Yeah. And so he grows up learning all their ways and becomes a lawman, or the Galactic Marshals or something like that. And so he comes back to New Texas along with JB McBride. That's the daughter of Tex-Hex's former partner. What a coincidence. And but she's the town's new judge, and BraveStarr meets his friends, 30 and Fuzz, who becomes his deputy. And anyway, long story short, they fight Tex-Hex and Stampede. And Tex-Hex is essentially Stampede's number one. He's his go-to guy.
Yeah.
Created because as he followed Shaman to New Texas, he realized he needed a little bit more power. And so he has his henchman. But
yeah, I equate him to Tex-Hex is kind of between a Skeletor and Beastman, right? He's not like a full minion because he has plenty of autonomy, unlike Beastman.
Right.
But he's not like a interdimensional level of threat.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I was gonna say he's kind of like Destro, but not really, because Destro was pretty competent. So
I agree. He's more like a daredevil, like street level villain that gets wrapped up into like a world-ending type of scenario.
Yeah, I like that.
So he's incorporated, but not really responsible for
it. Right.
Which I can appreciate, right? Everybody gets in over their head at some point.
Very much so, yes.
And what's interesting, especially in this episode, which we'll get to, but he has some signs of like reflection, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool.
Yeah, he's kind of, except he's not as powerful, but he's kind of the Darth Vader to Stampede's emperors.
Mm-hmm.
Just not quite.
Just different scales.
Yeah, exactly. Darth Vader, I think, would totally kill this dude.
Yeah.
But the thing that made BraveStarr so cool, like you mentioned, was his powers.
Oh,
and so after he kind of shows in the movie some of it until it's awakened inside him, essentially.
Yeah, that's
and so he has the strength of a bear, the eyes of a hawk, the ears of a wolf, and the speed of a puma.
That's right.
Which I think is about 50 miles per hour they can sprint.
He's he's incredibly fast. So who knows what a new Texas space puma
that's true. New
right?
Texas pumas. Yeah. Is it a space puma? Because space pumas
I would assume so. Yeah. We're gonna call it a space puma. So
but even strength of a bear, he's shown to do some crazy strong feats as well. So
he's Superman, the Flash. I don't know who has eyes of the hawk, maybe Oracle and ears of the wolf. We'll call it Oracle also, or Batman. I don't know.
Hawkman? I don't know.
Hawkman, maybe. Sure. We'll give it Hawkman.
That's right.
The Thanagarians need something. So we'll throw them a bone here.
Oh, man. That reminds me of that sketch. I don't know if you ever saw it, where Hawkman goes up to Green Lantern to try to get his movie made. Oh, man. It's funny. And the rest of the Justice League and everybody in the bar is just kind of laughing at him. But anyway, okay, BraveStarr, he's awesome. He has this horse that is also one of his best friends that's very antagonistic. I mean, he's a
which
gruff,
is why it's great. Yeah.
That's right. And he has a great look to him too. He's this gray horse with the white mane, the mechanical arms and legs. I mean, he's got hooves except when he doesn't. And
he is the 80s, like the 80s cool.
That's right.
Ridiculous, over the top, but so cool. That's why he was my favorite. I'm a little kid and I'm like, this horse is so cool.
Yeah.
I bet he drives a Trans Am and
for real.
Yeah.
That's it, Michael. I can't tolerate the antics of this little hellion a second longer.
Because he just didn't care. He was like,
no, not at all.
He's almost like Wolverine, like, don't get in my way.
Yeah.
He was also kind. I mean, his first instinct is to always, fight, and then we'll talk it out afterwards. If you're still around, we'll talk it out. So yeah, he was really cool. But he had his own, I think, episode where there was like a race of sheep people, and he ends up giving his gun, or somehow his gun finds its way into the hands of one of their kids, and yeah, that's again
because he had the shotgun looking like
it's like a blunderbuss rifle. Or something.
Yeah.
It's got the muzzle that kind of opens out.
Yeah, and he's I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think much like BraveStarr, he's the last of his people. Also,
I think so too. Yeah,
he's like an equestrian or
equestroid. I think is what it is. Something like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it makes sense they would find each other. It's
your found family.
Right.
Let's talk about Christmas. So this episode is called Tex's Terrible Night. And it's basically, what do you do if you want to make something Christmas? You throw in a Christmas Carol.
That's right.
You just mash them up. And that's what they do in this episode, where Tex-Hex plays the Scrooge character.
Yep. And Shaman plays all the ghosts.
And Shaman is all the ghosts, except for a quick, brief part where we see the Ghost of Christmas Future with like Horde Prime's mechanical hand or something.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah.
But okay, so my first question would be, why do you think BraveStarr was prime for this adaptation? Like, why was this a good choice for this? Why didn't they do anything else Christmas?
Low-hanging fruit, I think, is one. Because
that's probably right.
I mean,
yeah,
it was. But also I mentioned it earlier. I think Tex-Hex has that humanity side. He's not human, but he has. They had already set that up that he has like, I don't know, like he's bullied into kind of doing what he's supposed to by his boss, but he also has his own like personal vendetta against all the good guys. So I think it was low-hanging fruit. What about you? What do you think?
I mean, if I'm giving it credit, I'd say there's enough mysticism and spirituality involved in it with Shaman and the tribe's beliefs, and Stampede is ghost-like in his, I don't know, demon or spirit form.
Like an apparition.
Yeah. So it's something like that I think it's close enough that you could just combine these two. But Honestly, my honest opinion is I think they wanted to make a Christmas episode and they're like, oh yeah, it's a Christmas Carol. Everybody loves a Christmas Carol. So
that's right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's my wife's. If there's a Christmas Carol type episode, it doesn't matter what the show is. She wants to watch it. That's nice. That's her favorite like Christmas theme. So I could probably actually get her to watch this. And, she's not really a cartoon person, but so I think it's a good thing too. Like it's a trope for a reason. Like these are like timeless types of episodes that you can go back to and you instantly like, okay, I know who this guy is, right? He's the bad guy.
He's the Scrooge character.
That's right. He's a Scrooge, right?
Yeah.
Here's the lost love, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's
exactly. Nice. It is interesting to me though that Shaman played all the ghosts.
Yeah, I found it an interesting choice. I think it was again creativity, or lack thereof. So like,
or like you said, budgetary reasons.
Right? Yeah, it's like, well, who do we have? Oh, we only have 4 voice actors this week. All right, well, let's just use what we got.
I mean, for real. I mean, I think you're right, 100%. It is strange. He goes to visit Tex-Hex and...
I mean that your evil must be stopped.
Nobody, you, me, or anybody else can stop me from being evil.
No one? Come, let us see.
I ain't going nowhere with you.
Oh, yes, you are.
Hey, where are you taking me?
Back to your past.
And everybody knows the plot of A Christmas Carol, so we don't have to get too into it.
But no, Jerry, dive in. Let's analyze it pretty deeply here. Let's get into some like literary analysis. Let's dive in.
That actually reminds me one time. I hate to admit this, but I was taking one of my literature classes for my college credit, and I remember I didn't want to really work, so I told the teacher that I was going to analyze this particular story using music theory. And I wrote my paper, and it was just the biggest BS I pulled out of whatever. And she loved it, and she wanted to actually start writing or teaching a new class on like analyzing literature using other forms of.
Oh, that's so interesting! Wow.
And it was the dumbest thing. It's like, this is a great setup here. Look, so of course it's a 5 chord because it wants to resolve. And yeah, I mean, it was the stupidest thing. But yeah, just talk, that kind of reminded me that.
I have crazy respect for that. That is so, you inspired someone with your pure laziness. That's amazing, Jerry.
It's probably my most brilliant moment, I think.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about Texas Terrible Night.
Finally, let's get to it.
All right, here we go. We're going to dive in. So we talk about Tex-Hex having a little bit of humanity. We find that, and this has also appeared in the movie, but it's much more fleshed out here.
Yeah.
We find that Tex actually had a past love. That's right. I believe, what was it? Ursula? Is it?
Yep,
I think?
Ursula.
Ursula. Yes. And seemed like he was in love with her, but he wanted to go to New Texas to find his Kerium and, like the Scrooges do, make enough money to take care of them. And then, of course, the greed takes hold of them.
That's right.
Do you really have to go all the way to this faraway planet? What's it called?
New Texas. I do have to go, Ursula, don't you see? If Angus is right, if there really is a lot of Kerium there, we'll be rich.
But we don't need to be rich. We've got each other. And I just have this feeling that if you go to New Texas, I'll never see you again. I'll never see you again.
So much so that we kind of cut, and it doesn't say how much later it is. I don't know if it's years. I don't know if it's months or what.
3 days. I mean,
or it could be. I mean, it's cartoon time here. I don't know.
It's non-linear. It's fine. We don't have to worry about it.
But essentially, this is where we discover his backstory of how he betrayed McBride, who was his partner, and he actually cripples him, which is, I mean, inadvertently,
dark.
but yeah,
dark. Yeah.
It, again, with the really dramatic details here, but he cripples him, and he just becomes so greedy that he overloads his ship with Kerium, and they crash. I don't know if he's dead or almost dead.
Dying probably is the implication. Yeah.
Right. And that's where Stampede finds him. Of course, all this is told to us by the ghost of Christmas past, Shaman himself.
Through these flashbacks. Yeah.
Through these. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the setup for where we are. It's Christmas Eve and Tex. By the way, I love the image of Tex in his long johns. It's just.
Yes. It was so ridiculous.
It's
plus
ridiculous.
So for those of you that don't know what Tex-Hex looks like, let's describe him. So if you haven't ever seen the show, so Tex-Hex is like purplish skin. The sky is like neon pink in much of the show, so it's kind of hard to tell, but he's purplish skin.
Yeah.
And he
it's
has
like a lavender kind of.
Yeah. And he has white hair, and it's not really a Fu Manchu because he doesn't have like the beard portion. It's just like a mustache that like sticks way out, and he wears a black cowboy hat, and he's got the 80s villain long nails, and
of course,
because that's like I think it's a must. I think it's on a checklist.
Especially if you're a cartoon villain. Yes,
exactly. Yeah, that's how you know they're evil, is look at their hands. Do they have long nails? Oh, okay, well then they're bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's this, and he's got red eyes, like
very gaunt.
Yes.
His lips are almost as if they were like
Chapped
skeleton
skeletal
teeth.
Yep.
That kind of shape. They're very. He seems emaciated, very gaunt at least, and and he's got
looks
that
like a bad
gravelly voice.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, great look. I think he usually has a skull and crossbones on his chest, if I recall.
Yes. Yeah. With it's like a vest. I think like a vest over his shirt. That's the skull and crossbones. So yeah. So it's really distinct character design. You won't see it anywhere else. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to set the mood for you.
No,
guys.
I like it. It.
So now imagine that guy, but in long johns now for some reason.
Red, like maroonish red long johns.
That's right.
Yeah, so good. And he's still got his hat on, though, of course.
Yep, of course. Yeah. I think it's actually part of his skin.
It could be, yeah.
I would imagine that's established at this point. It's canon. We're going to say it.
Stampede's he's so cruel. It's like, I'm going to mold that on. Yeah, so Tex, he discovers through his new partner, the one that he basically double-crossed McBride with, Scuzz, who's a member of the Prairie People. I think he's the only evil member of the Prairie People.
I think that's right.
But he was doing some spying earlier and discovered that BraveStarr and 3030 are going to be out of town. And so they decide that Christmas Day is the perfect time to attack the fort and take them by surprise, which, I mean, he's going like full, Gargamel, just kind of evil.
Yep.
Just everything, Grinch. I'm going to just take you on. Something about attacking on Christmas is just really, it makes you more evil,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's opportunistic and low evil, right? It's like low effort evil. So
that's right. Yeah. But it quickly brands you as like, oh, well, this guy's a bad dude.
Right.
So he's going to attack that day and get, revenge on McBride and everybody else that took advantage of him. And as he's in his long johns, he gets visited in the middle of the night by Shaman, BraveStarr's mentor, and the other member of the tribe that's left over after that attack. Shaman basically Jacob Marley's him.
Yep.
And tells him like, hey, you need to come with me. I'm going to show you some stuff. And of course he says it in a much better way, but
no, I like this version though.
I'm going to show you some stuff, man.
Yeah, come on. You got some time.
Come see this thing. Yeah. So he takes Tex-Hex away. We see how powerful Shaman really is here, where he essentially forces Tex to go with him.
Yeah, it raises plenty of questions, but we're just going to breeze past those.
That's right. It's
kind of problematic in its own way, but we're going to ignore it. It's fine.
For the betterment of mankind.
Hey, Shaman, you could create this pocket dimension. Why haven't you done this ever? Right?
Why haven't you
cool. Yeah.
Put Stampede in there? And
perpetually, just leave him there. Right? Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, it's fine. No, let's get him to act good for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Just until the end of the episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then he can go back to being an awful douche.
Which he will. And BraveStarr even says he will later on at the end.
Yep, that's right.
Like, luckily, he's just a character in a cartoon.
That's right. Yeah. He doesn't. They don't even give him the full
fourth
Scrooge
wall,
makeover, right?
That's right. But yeah, so he Ghost of Christmas past him and shows him his time with Ursula, and we see Tex he's much younger, brown hair, his mustache is a lot shorter and more kempt, and I mean, it's just he looks like they actually were in love, but she kind of has a bad feeling and doesn't want him to go. And like the typical Scrooge character, he says, "I have to go. It's going to be for us. I got to do it for us."
Yep, it's his Sharknado moment. I got to fly this helicopter full of bombs into a tornado full of sharks. It's the only option, right?
The only option, yeah.
It's the only one. That's it.
Well, at least it's not Sharknado 3 with the satellite.
Is that the Mark
lasers.
Cuban one?
I believe, yes, that is the Mark Cuban one.
Where he's the president. Yeah,
yeah. With David Hasselhoff as his dad.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Shark in space.
Oof.
So we've just both openly admitted to watching at least 3 Sharknadoes. So you're welcome, everybody.
I'll admit to seeing all of them. It's
okay.
Just
well, there you go.
Dumb, very dumb, but
you can put it on
entertaining,
when you're folding
fun.
laundry. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So he shows him his past. Then he shows him the scene that we saw or that we're going to see in the movie, because while the movie was supposed to come out first, production delays caused it to come out later.
Of course.
Yeah. Filmation.
Thanks, Filmation. Yeah.
But yeah, so we see everything that happens with him and McBride.
Yep.
And we see his near death. We see how Stampede resurrected him. And I like how he's just so giddy at that moment as he's rewatching that. He's like, yeah, Stampede saved me and made me evil. And he does the maniacal laugh. And I mean, it's just, I can't even do it. I was going to try it. I thought, no, I'm going to tear up my voice doing that.
It's bad. It's so raspy and rough, which is great. Another reason he's so distinct to everybody. Just, you're not going to find another.
You have to check it out.
6-pack a day smoker villain.
That's right. So Shaman's like, he does that.
Yep.
I don't know if it's not a growl, whatever it is. This vocalization he makes.
Yeah, that's it. It's a vocalization.
That's right. Yeah. Just to show his disapproval and disappointment in Tex. But I do love Tex's eyes when he's younger, because they're still that deep red, and they're still very unsettling, even as you're watching in the past. But
maybe that should have been the sign that we should have known he's never actually going to change.
Yeah.
Anybody with evil eyes, man, that's some that's some Jeffrey Dahmer-esque stuff. You can't redeem that right now. So but on the bright side, we do get to see how he approaches his relationship with Ursula, and you see that he does actually care for somebody, which was cool to see. Like,
that is true.
And you see when they flash to the present, right? I put that in quotes. You see his instant remembrance, and he remembers all the good times and all those feelings that he had for her that Stampede didn't get rid of. He just kind of pushed them down with all the powers and the evilness. So it was kind of cool to see, because it added some layers, right? Some Shrekky onion layers. So.
Right, because we see that there's like a stagecoach robbery that they performed, I guess, like a week or a little time ago, not too long ago. And it turns out that Ursula was in that stagecoach. And even though Tex's men got away, we see that Ursula starts to nurse the stagecoach driver back to health and kind of takes care of him. And it turns out that she and he fell in love and got married. And they're going to be in New Texas on Christmas Day.
Yeah, they are.
There is Ursula today.
It's Ursula, but what is she doing with that strato stage driver?
He is now her husband.
Husband?
Ursula has finally found the happiness you denied her. Soon, she and Joshua will arrive in Fort Kerium for the Christmas celebration.
Fort Kerium? On Christmas Day? They can't!
It's what, Tex?
It's the day of a big attack on the town!
Then you will risk Ursula's life again.
I don't have any choice.
I think you do.
Right away. Yeah, yes, very much so.
Not very creative, but still foreshadowing.
It was something else, but
yeah.
So Tex shows him the future as well, and he's no more because he, I guess, failed one too many times, and Stampede just kind of had it up to here with him and killed him. So I mean, that was the implication. I don't know if
he no longer had need for him. So
there you go. That's a much nicer way of saying it. Yeah. Yeah. But we see, again, just like typical Christmas Carol story, he sees the gravestone. And this is where we get a lot of the stilted acting from, just character movements from
budget was
Tex.
done.
It was all up at that point. But we also get a cool Ghost of Christmas Future, like a proper one. It's just for a little bit, and he just points at the grave, but he's got the cloak, everything.
It's my grave. It says Tex-Hex. Shaman! 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 Where are you? Who's that? Where's Shaman?
And like as I mentioned earlier, his hand seems kind of robotic, as if it was like Horde Prime's hand from.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Dr. Claw, I guess. From.
Dr. Claw is probably a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I could think of maybe like if the Black Cauldron had a robot bad guy.
Oh yeah.
So.
Like the Horned King.
Yeah, exactly.
Robot.
If he was a robot, that would be kind of the equivalent, I guess, is a good way to look at it.
Oh man, now I want to see
right.
Let's somebody get on this. Let's do a cyborg Horned King.
But... we should just ask like a stable diffusion model to create a.
That's
AI
right.
Generated image. So noted. It's going on the list of things.
All right. I can't wait to see it. Or maybe Charlie from Aggie Designs and Closer to Christmas will draw it up for us.
Shout out. Charlie does great work.
Yeah, he does. So he created your logo, and he actually drew this right behind me. So
which is awesome. Which BraveStarr is included.
BraveStarr, yeah.
On your right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So cut to it's the next morning. Tex is feeling very, very conflicted. He even tries to reschedule.
Yeah.
Like maybe we don't have to go today. Maybe we can go another time. And Stampede's like, look, we're attacking this town, whether you're with us or not. Yeah. So he tags along, and as Stampede turns into a cloud to kind of cover the marauders.
Yep.
Tex decides he has to save Ursula. He still has a love for her, even if it's just a little bit somewhere down in there.
It exists.
I love what he does. He shoots Stampede with his blaster, and it causes the cloud to start disrupting. And so it looks like there's a thunderstorm, and all of a sudden they can see, oh wait, look, out in the distance
there's a thunderstorm coming.
Yeah, they're on their way, and sure enough, they close the gates, and because that was one of the cool things about the town as well.
Yes, it turned into a fortress.
It was like a real fort. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool. Yeah. If you guys are curious, watch it on YouTube. It's like a 10-second clip or whatever. You can watch the town transform.
Yeah.
And it's super cool. And the playset did that too. Like it was like you like roll it or something. I forget what exactly it did, but super cool.
Yeah. I never had the playset. I remember I wanted it, but there were other things that I wanted. And of course, on teacher salaries, it was what it was.
I get it.
So I never got it, but I did have a friend who had it, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And of course, BraveStarr would play with He-Man and
of course
Transformers and everyone. Yeah.
If it was a cartoon, they all fought together
exactly
against each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a battle royale. Sometimes you even throw in the WWF Brothers. Guys, right?
Yeah. For real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So their attack is ruined, and when BraveStarr comes back, they're telling him about it, how Tex-Hex betrayed him. He's like, what? That doesn't sound right. And we cut to a nice little teary moment where Tex is just looking at the town from a cliff and is just like, Merry Christmas, Ursula.
Yeah,
hammering
it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous. But I love it.
But it's awesome. Yeah.
It is awesome. It's so
Exactly, yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But you know what though? It is very fitting too, because people do the most inane and unlikely things at Christmas time too.
It's true. Yeah.
Why we might be like, oh, there's no way Tex-Hex would do that. You know what? He might.
Mm-hmm.
He might.
Yeah. Well,
You
it's
never know.
like you were saying earlier, nostalgia is a very powerful force.
It is. Well, and that love, right? I mean, obviously he still had it.
He's still
somewhere in there.
Yep. I like these kind of episodes because it shows us the depth of character. You know, it's more of a character building episode than it is just action oriented.
I agree.
But it's nice because it makes us feel more for these characters that we're watching.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It really does. Yeah, it gives some of the empathy and just more background, fleshes them out, makes them feel more full.
Yeah.
More,
I do
a little more depth.
I wrote down some of the insults that Tex-Hex throws around. So he calls BraveStarr miserable marshal.
Alliteration, man.
That's right. The prairie people, he calls them varmints, and his ship he called the tin junk heap, which I thought was fun. Yes. Like, nice. Great. All right. Yeah, I like this episode. I really did.
I do too. I loved it. I thought it was great. And, you know, don't get me wrong, right? Like BraveStarr has its place in the lore of filmation.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at it like kind of holistically, was it the best show ever? Absolutely not. But what it did do really well is it handled topics that other shows didn't handle, which was really cool. It had a very distinct setting and very distinct characters. So like, you're not going to confuse. I mean, there were a couple of other space westerns, but not to the same extent as this. So I think it's super cool.
Let's talk about some of the other things. So there was a lot of, well, not a lot, but there was some BraveStarr merchandise out there. So the toy line came out in 86, like I mentioned. I actually sent you a page from the 87 Sears Wish book.
Yes.
And that was cool.
So cool. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I've got it pulled up on our chat. So
there was a lot of great toys there. So the ones that they came out with, and there was actually a second series planned that was never produced.
Like a spinoff, right? Yeah.
Well, that too, but just a second toy line. It was going to be like series 2 of the toys. So JB was going to be included in there. I think Long Arm was going to be another one. A few others that I don't recall all who, but I know they were actually going to have a JB figure. So it would have fleshed out the line. But the ones that we did get, we got, of course, BraveStarr. We got 3030, and the horse was cool. Just wasn't quite as cool as the cartoon one. Because I remember...
Couldn't be.
Well... Yeah.
Not to mass produce, right? I mean, that was the thing.
Right. Well, you know, because he had that huge mane of white hair. I mean, it was definitely like punk rock meets glam rock, you know. I mean, just as big as glam rock, but you know, it was just kind of punk because it was a mane.
It was.
Anyway, so we had 3030s. There was Deputy Fuzz. I didn't remember that they actually had a Fuzz toy because I never had
Interesting.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I had him either. I remember I had 3030 and Marshall BraveStarr. And did they have a Shaman character? Did they have a Shaman figure? I don't think so.
I don't think they did. Yeah. So he probably was one of the ones in that series too that they had designed.
Yeah, that would make sense that they would want to bring.
But of course, you have to have villains. So they had Tex-Hex, they had Sandstorm, and I think he actually like blew mist like water out of his mouth. You know. Because that was another big thing back in the 80s, special gimmick toys. So
yeah, of course.
Cobra Khan from He-Man did it. Moss Man smelled like, or supposed to smell like moss. Zartan turned blue for some reason. I never could quite figure that out, but okay.
Because they had that tech and needed to put it out somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, that's the only way. There was a Scuzz figure, and then of course the playset, which was cool. But they also had like the gun. Like the blaster.
Which is an interesting looking blaster.
If
you saw it, if you saw it by itself, I don't think you would identify it as a laser blaster. I'll be honest.
No, definitely not.
Looks man, what does it look? Looks kind of like a car phone from the 80s. Mixed with another car phone and like a remote control all duct taped together.
Yeah, it's like the top of one of those old school like Magnavox cameras. Like if you just slice the top off.
Yes.
And then it's got the handle, and then it's got like a weird base, like a long, almost cross-shaped base that was attached to it. And I'm sure it was just to balance it out. And
so you could set it down.
Right. But yeah, it's definitely one of the more bizarre ray guns I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
But there also, not only was there Tex and BraveStarr, they also had special versions with backpacks on them that were super cool. And it would like make, was it his eyes or was it their gun?
I think it was the guns.
I think it was the gun. It would make them like light up, and they had sounds, and they were so cool. They were just, I remember wanting those ones. Cool. I had a basic just BraveStarr figure.
Yeah, same.
But I remember wanting the one with the backpack just because it looked like, then I didn't have to supply the sounds.
Right?
Yeah.
At least until that, tiny watch battery died. And
that's right. Yeah.
After you use it for like 2 days, and it's like,
Yeah. And you're like, darn it.
Yeah.
Of course, there were BraveStarr books. There was even a little mini series of comics. I think it was only like 2, maybe 3 issues. I don't have them.
There was a 3D one, right?
With it was 3D in 3D. Glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
I was looking because a lot of times these cartoons in the UK, they got their own comic, even if it was only like 5 or 6 issues. So I was scouring and I cannot seem to find any. So unfortunately, BraveStarr wasn't quite popular enough to warrant its own comic line, even though things like the Centurions got one, which
that may have been like ordered with the series or something.
It could have been. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had the badges, they had T-shirts, things like that. But there was even a BraveStarr video game.
That's right.
The Commodore 64 and a couple other systems that I didn't have. So I never got to play this game because I didn't own any of these systems. And I was watching a video run through of it, and I mean, it seems fun enough.
It's not great.
No, but
as
a kid, I might have enjoyed it. Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed every video game I could get my hands on as a kid. It really didn't matter what it was. I
think the only ones I didn't like was X-Men. That was for Nintendo. That was a pretty terrible game. It's like these tiny.
I think I had the Wolverine ones. I think I had Wolverine for the NES, which was great.
I had Wolverine, and I enjoyed that one too. But the X-Men game was pretty terrible, and it would glitch. You'd like get stuck, and then you're just stuck in this wall, and you can't do anything.
Oh. Yay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Totally ET.
Right.
It was awful. And then Nightcrawler couldn't even like teleport through walls. I mean, it was
I mean, that's like the thing.
That's like his whole thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're going to be Nightcrawler, you want to be able to teleport and get through things.
You know what that was? Is they didn't know how to code that into the game.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
They're like, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's basically just a side scroller video game. I enjoyed it, watching it. But again, like you said, that's about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to it.
This is a property that I think if they made a movie of it or something, I think it could really be big. I mean, think about how popular Guardians of the Galaxy is. It's a very similar, not premise, but I mean, stylistically, we have the sort of space cowboys going on. They're just these renegades. You really could make something cool with it. And of course, I'm more of a fan of practical effects, but I think you could use special
pretty
effects
easily. I don't think it would be too hard.
Yeah. So
I agree. And they have remade. I mean, you could even redo it as an animated series,
even as a cartoon.
Well.
I'd take it. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've redone He-Man and She-Ra so far multiple times, and they redid the Thundercats, and so I mean that was 20 years ago that they redid it, so it's been a while. But
wow,
yes, so I feel like this one is due. I think they could pretty easily redo BraveStarr, even for a limited series. Give me like a 5-episode like Master of the Universe Revelation.
Like on Netflix. Yeah,
yeah. Just give me like, for the people who watched it as a kid, it's more grown up. Give me 4 or 5 episodes, and I'll be thrilled. I'll even kickstart it.
Oh wow, nice. Yeah, I'll take that any day, because it really was just a super cool concept. Like you mentioned, the character design was phenomenal. I think if done well with a proper budget, I think they could really capitalize on a property that was just kind of a big missed opportunity.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's open, right? So for all of you TV executives and streaming executives that are listening tonight, please, we support Marshall BraveStarr as
yes,
a reboot.
wholeheartedly. But it does make me wonder, what would you say would be your happiest memory or moment with BraveStarr?
Ooh, my happiest memory would probably be right at the end where he changes, right? And he stops Stampede from basically destroying the town.
Yeah.
On Christmas. So I would say that was probably my happiest memory from this.
Right on.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's the climax, right? That's like that's his redemption story. And then he goes back to being awful.
Yeah. That's because of course you can't. That's when I was talking with Ed Daly, we were doing versions of A Christmas Carol. That was like
Sure.
our whole episode. And he was saying that it's harder for TV because the whole point of the Christmas Carol is, that Scrooge changes and becomes a better person. But when you have a character it's vital for your show that he stays a curmudgeon, it's really hard to have that authentic
redemption arc
Scrooge moment.
It's so true. Yeah. Because you need an antagonist.
Right. And in this case, Braveheart just straight up tells us, well, he's going to go back to his old ways because it's a cartoon and we need him to. But
we need eyeballs at Christmas. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We need advertiser money. So you're going to watch this Christmas.
You're going to watch
episode.
this and you're going to like it, darn it.
That's right.
I'm gonna go first. Yeah, I mean, for me, and I got to go back to it, man. But just like those, larger than life 8-inch toys, they were easily like the biggest action figures I owned. Again, I can remember in my mind the way the detailing felt on his uniform, on handlebars. They had like little ridges. You know what I mean? Like, so you could like feel them. They were heavy. They were cool. Also, just. Getting to, get that blaster. I don't know what these toys cost at the time or whatever, but I mean, it must have been something my dad was willing to spring for, because I did have, a little collection of it, and just getting that blaster, on and pointing it at, Tex-Hex with the backpack on, because you could put the backpack on either character, you know what I mean?
Oh,
right.
And then you just shoot it, and then I guess there was like a thing in the back that clicked and it made them like knock over. So it was so cool, and they were easy to stand up to, the figures, whatever, because they were so big, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had these like the boots on, and so they had these great joints too, like on their shoulders and on their elbows, like these like ball joints. So just playing with those, like I thought it was a blast. The little what's it called? They're mining
Kerium.
Kerium. They came with a little Kerium. Do you remember that, Jerry?
Yeah, they came with a little nugget. Yeah,
a little nugget of Kerium, which was so cool. I thought that was so cool too, and it kind of looked like red kryptonite. Like if you were like me and you mixed your toys, it definitely looked like red kryptonite.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's official. It's canon. It's red kryptonite.
The whole time that's what Tex is whining, man.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just had a blast playing with those. You know what I mean? And I don't remember specifics about the cartoon, just remember enjoying watching it, as well. But the toys were really stellar. I don't think I've seen anything like that since.
Now, for me, it's watching it with my older brother. He was like the biggest BraveStarr. He's the only one that for a long time ever talked about BraveStarr. So he was always really into it. He loved Tex-Hex, but he loved BraveStarr too, which is crazy because he's never really one for heroes. But I just remember him loving BraveStarr.
Yeah,
just loving the powers too. The hawk, the puma, the bear, the I forgot what the other one was.
Wolf.
Yeah, just all that. And like I said, New Texas, that it was here in Texas. I was like, man, awesome.
So great. So great. Yeah.
And the powers were cool because whenever he'd use a power, like you'd see the outline of it. And it was like,
outline.
It was like backlit. And so you'd have, it would kind of glow in a different way than the rest of it. And so it looked really neat.
It did. Really
I thought that was a great part of the animation. Yes. I was like, oh, I appreciate seeing that.
Yeah, I did too.
I was like, that adds to it, I don't know if you know this, Jerry. I know you're not a big drinker, but one brewery right now is doing a Tex-Hex beer, but it's almost like
awesome.
It's an IPA and they have her.
It's a female.
It's a female though.
But the eyes are like smoky.
Yeah.
But
it looks really cool. I'll grab a can just to post.
I was trying to find one actually this week. I couldn't.
Find one. Yeah, I know that would have been something that we both don't like IPAs, but that would have been something to drink.
It's cool looking. You'll like the art.
Nice.
I like the art on that beer.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can see I'm a BraveStarr fan right there.
Oh yeah.
I
love you got the Marshall there, man. You gotta have the Marshall.
Yeah.
Post it up like that.
Just
and
leaning.
Isn't that
it's stereotypical lean,
Exactly. And I don't wanna spoiler for anybody that hasn't seen episode 1 yet of season 3 of The Mandalorian, right? But doesn't Mando strike that same pose? Mando legit strikes that
totally
pose.
Does.
I'm telling you, Dave Filoni is a BraveStarr fan.
He's a closet BraveStarr fan.
We gotta tweet. Tweet that, man. Let's tweet him. Let's tweet Dave Filoni and find out.
Pedro Pascal for BraveStarr.
Oh, hey, look at that right there.
I'm in, Jerry. You got it. See, you nailed it.
Oh man. No, that's awesome. For me, I remember running home to watch it after school, trying to make it on time to make sure I could see it because it was on weekdays. There was 65 episodes. It was 13 weeks. And I just remember trying my best to make it home in time so that I could watch it because it was just so cool. Yeah, that'd probably be for me. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I like to call Gag Me with the Spoon. So this is where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of the episode. Not necessarily something we didn't like, just something that we didn't like as much as, the rest. So as a guest, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set up the scene for us.
So that's interesting. Okay, I'm going to go with, I have a couple of quotes written down. I wrote down a couple of quotes from the show. So
okay,
I'm going to go with a quote from Shaman.
Oh, nice.
And this is, I believe, at the end. And it's like a recap. He's meeting with BraveStarr. It's during the moral, the filmation moral of the story. And Shaman says, Tex remembered, if only for a few moments, a time when he cared about love and friendship. You see, there can be good even in the worst people. And so the reason I would say that's a gag me with a spoon is because this could not have been more contrived.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, look, it's not our first time seeing a Dickens episode, right? This is a Christmas, like, we get it. He's good
we know how these things work, guys.
That's right. Yeah, you don't need. It's like they're like making it as elementary as possible, drawing with crayons.
Right. Yeah, which is so funny because they weren't talking down to us like through all these rest of the episodes, and now all of a sudden, that's good.
Want me to go? Yeah. So Jerry talked about it earlier, and again, I was hard pressed to find something I didn't like.
Yeah, it was kind of hard. This one was kind of hard.
I was like, I love this. This is a great episode. But it's just the way the line, not the way the line is said, but the line itself. I'm like, they could have tweaked it. So this is when Tex is in the present and he's making the decision on whether or not to alert the town that Stampede is on the way. And so he says, if I don't go along with Stampede, really be mad. And I just looked away and said, he should do something better, like, if I don't go along with Stampede, he'll get my hide or something like that. I was like, he'll be mad. He'll really be mad. I was like,
he'll chew me out. He called me into his office.
Yeah, like everything else Tex was saying throughout the episode was like poetry. Then he got to that, I was like, really be mad. I was like, ugh. All right. I was like, that's my gag me with this spoon moment for sure.
That's a good one. Yep.
Mine was it already after all the touring had been going on, past, present, future. It's when they're about to attack, and he says, "I'll pay for it later, but I got to save Ursula." And I was like, man, I don't want to like you, I don't want you to save anyone. You're the bad guy. I want BraveStarr to save Ursula. Do something so BraveStarr can save her, and it'll piss you off even more.
Oh yeah.
That your enemy would, save your love.
Nah, Tex won me over in this episode. I was
like, that's what you don't want. I don't want that.
What a great guy he is. It's
Remember,
not his fault.
Remember when they robbed the stagecoach? That was a great day.
He went through a lot in that 2 hours.
He really did, yeah. So for me, this is when Shaman is like first trying to get him to come with him. He's like, so you can stop being evil. And the reason I picked this line is just because it reminded me completely of Skeletor from the Christmas special there. And He says, "Nobody, you, me, or anybody else can stop me from being evil." It reminded me of Skeletor's, I am not nice. I am not kind. I don't want to be good. I want to be evil. It's like,
man, that's great, Jared.
Like, yep, both Filmation.
Hey, man, that's iconic. All right,
Yeah,
I
it
need
is.
that
Yeah,
in my life. That is the 80s. You know what I mean?
That's right. But G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
Loving someone from afar. That's the other half of the battle. Unrequited love. That's the other half of the battle, Jerry.
Oh man. Oof. That's a rough one. So
You're welcome. Yeah.
I guess it fits in with the theme of the show.
Well, if knowing is half the battle, the other half is definitely if you're leaving your lady love to go make a mint of money. Make sure you have good travel partners, because when you come out the other side, you will be a different man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he completely forgot about Ursula once he got there.
Yeah, big time. He
kicking his partner in the face.
Yeah.
Twice.
Maybe Ursula was like the only thing keeping him good. Like maybe he was just bad, but she's like, I could change him.
Oh, see, there you go. He's like Will Money. Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven, stole it from Tex-Hex.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You know what? There you go. That's good casting right now. Modern Clint Eastwood as Tex-Hex.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding, right? Yeah, he's tall, right?
Uh-huh.
Knowing is half the battle, then BraveStarr has to get more help for New Texas, because if all he needs to do is just leave to go somewhere else to deal with an issue, and they come and destroy New Texas, or the city, I'm like, wow, you need more help, buddy.
Yeah,
you should know that by now.
For real.
That's like
the marshal's gone.
Yeah,
let's do it. Let's destroy the city. I'm like, wow, okay, that's all it takes. Okay,
and I was like, Texas is destroying the city a lot too. I was like, this is like the place where you're like, there's nothing left. You're just like, let's blow it up. I was like, okay.
It makes me wonder, like, why doesn't he just go to the mines and like steal everything from the mines?
Right?
Who cares about the city? Go straight to the source.
These villains get a hero, and then they're just like single-minded. They're like, I hate this guy.
Yeah. Well, those are both better than mine. So I said, if knowing is half the battle, the other half is saving money on animation by getting rid of a couple of ghosts.
No, I like it.
Just use Shaman a lot. Oh, guys.
And reusing cells, which thankfully they didn't do as much this time, so that's good.
It's been so much fun talking with you about BraveStarr, but tell me about your show, man.
So I've got the new website coming out.
Nice.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
With some new music, and the season 4's coming out. I can't believe I'm about to hit season 4 of the show, the Lost Christmas podcast.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's so many great Christmas podcasts. Check them all out, everybody. There's so many great ones. I could go on, but Jerry has tons of them on his show. So check everybody out. There's so many great ones. So find something you enjoy and dig in. Mine's mostly history. That's kind of what
really
I dig
cool.
into.
He just did a whole series this past season, was all about different Santa Clauses. It was quite
That's
fantastic.
Right.
So
it was the season of Santa, and I barely scratched the surface too. There's a ton more.
Isn't it the crazy thing? Like every time I think, because I have a ridiculously long list of topics to cover. I mean, it's crazy.
Same.
Long. And every time I think I'm winding down with the topics, I find about 50 more that I can add. And so I get where you're coming from. It's there's a bunch of different Santas from all over, and just the origins in general. But if you're interested in that, if you're interested in just all the cool things that we do at Christmas time and where they came from and why we do them, go check out the Lost Christmas podcast.
Yep. So like you said, I dig into the history of kind of how our traditions came to be, where they come from, and how we wind up doing the things we do. It's fun. I enjoy it. So check it out. I think you'll like it.
Totally. You want to go, Double?
Yeah, I mean, we're just pop culture where we talk about everything. We talk about movies, cartoons, TV shows, events, sports, just anything and everything. Nothing's really off limits, right, Sam?
No, not really, man. We've had a little bit of something where, it's just another Friday night. We usually go live on Friday nights on Facebook and on YouTube. You can join us to kind of a different aspect on the podcast, get in the conversation with us. If you disagree with us, if you think Ant-Man was a bad movie, let us know. If you think that, a show that we're talking about is better than we say it was, let us know that too. We will invite all of we call our Friday nighters to come in and join us and talk about that with us.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt our feelings if you disagree with us.
Not at all. The great Jerry D has been on our show many times. Moon Knight definitely schooled us in some Moon Knight knowledge there. So we love that. Also, I think our Batman episode, right, Jerry? You're there for that one, I think.
I don't remember. I think I might have made a quick cameo.
A quick appearance, yeah. If not, you can catch Jerry in the comments sometimes, which is also great. But yeah, we invite anyone to come on a Friday night and talk about whatever we're talking about with us. And sometimes we'll just rattle on, you know what I mean? So it goes on and on, so it's there. But yeah, at the time you'll hear this, it'll be over 150 episodes.
Yeah.
So
right.
Find something you like and give it a listen.
Werewolf by Night.
Yes, yes.
That was a good one.
Yes. At JAFN podcast, pretty much everywhere. That's YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah, at JAFN podcast for just another Friday night.
Right on. Yeah. They have some fun stuff, and like they said, you can actually go on and interact, and it's really fun. Sometimes, they'll say something. It's like, oh, and I'll try to type as fast as I can because I want to get into the conversation. It's awesome. Yeah, I like the Werewolf by Night one. Was fantastic. I was privileged enough to be on the, on their Moon Knight episode. But just anytime you can catch them, you gotta hop on. So yeah, just another Friday night. Make sure to check it out. This was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
You picked some of the great stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, and Double A knows it just stokes a fire in me that I'm like,
oh yeah,
I love that. I mean, literally, like I said today, I'm watching and I'm messaging the guy at the vintage shop like, you got me this in there. I'm on eBay scrolling like, can't afford that, but dang, it looks cool.
But it looks cool, yeah.
And I'm telling myself, right, like I need to do a flea market trip and just run into one loose and just pick it up, like, man, because sometimes just to hold that in your hand, right, it just takes you back to that moment. Like, I'm like, man, like, I when I was a kid, I played with this, like, it's so cool. And again, like watching the movie today and the episode were such a thrill, like a blast to the past, like in the best possible way. Like, it's great.
That cartoon has aged really well on a lot of the stuff I was watching. So
yeah,
and like you said, Jerry, seems ripe for a remake. I mean, I'll take animation, I'll take a show, I'll take
can you imagine it with a little bit better animation? Man,
yeah, oh my god,
so much more crisper.
Yeah.
Give it the He-Man Masters of the Universe treatment, you know what I mean? Like,
I'll take it. Netflix, are you listening?
Yeah, there we go.
No kidding.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez. Any interest, Robert Rodriguez?
There we go.
Filoni, right? Or Dave Filoni.
Yeah, or Dave Filoni if you're not busy Star Wars and
for real. Cad Bane, looking at you, Cad Bane.
There you go.
But on that note, I'll end it by saying the spirit of Christmas can work many wonders. Perhaps Tex-Hex just decided to give us a Christmas present. So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram at Totally Rad Christmas, Twitter at Rad Christmas, Mastodon at Totally Rad Christmas at mastodon.world, or our Facebook group, Totally Rad Christmas Mall and Arcade, where you can make your voice known to us as well. We post anything and everything 80s or Christmas related. And if you're feeling like Tex-Hex saving Ursula, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com, courtesy of Tis the Podcast Elf, Tom Crow. Merry Christmas, Ursula. Merry Christmas. Later, dudes.
Outlaw Scuzza's days in Fort Kerium jail are numbered. The evil Tex-Hex is planning a jailbreak. Now for the bank and all that Kerium. BraveStarr's hawk-like eyes see the danger. Has the evil Tex-Hex finally won? Or is Fort Kerium safe with BraveStarr? Only you know the answer. Neutral laser, command center, bank jail set, and figures each sold separately. Batteries not included. Some assembly required. BraveStarr from Mattel.